I'm going to share some breakthroughs with you guys. 4 breakthroughs specifically that's taken me about 20 years to figure out. One has been a fairly recent thing, which really allowed me to shortcut this process and actually do licensing deals over DMs. Andre, I'm going to promote you. I'm dang glad to have you guys. You are here with me at the Big Money from Old Courses special Ronin Roundup. I thought we'd do this a little bit different today. It's such a special roundup. We're going to do it a little bit differently while I'm still horseballing around, bringing people in and stuff like that. But what I would like to do, if you guys should accept the mission, what is the most exciting thing that you would like to find out today about Big Money from Old Courses? You just want
licensing.
Yes, licensing. Okay, perfect. And what specifically about licensing? Is there anything specifically about that you're wanting to find out?
You were mentioning that you didn't need to either have the product. I think you mentioned in one of your emails. You neither needed to have the product or whatever it was you were going to license, and you didn't actually need. I think Rebecca, that she did that deal where she knew the company that made the uniforms, so you could do that without having either of those pieces. That sounds very good.
Exactly right, sir. We used to call this the bum method or something. Like, you literally just go to the public library and like you understand the principles here. You can put deals together, right? So that's kind of one of my goals for you guys today. I ran something called bum marketing method way back in the day. This is even better, more cash flow, less hassle. It's not really about marketing as much as just putting these deals together. So that's awesome. If you're just coming in, and you want to be on the panel, just raise your hand. You can leave your camera off if you want to. I do like to see your shining faces because that's half the reason why I do these. Break away from my writing and actually do these things so I can see your eyeballs. Anybody else want to volunteer? What's the most exciting thing that you guys think you could discover or find out today about making big money from old courses?
How to find somebody who has a mastermind and who would be looking for the courses that we can source from our network.
Perfect. Okay. That's wonderful. Where to find people with built-in like audiences or built-in stuff. That's awesome. We're going to totally talk about that. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll share. Yeah, the most exciting thing for me is the fact that I've got my own old courses and I've never had my own big list, and even thinking about how I can, yeah. So that's the most exciting thing for me that I'm thinking about.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. We're going to get rolling here in a minute. I just want to give anybody a chance to be a panelist. One last chance to be a panelist. If you'd like to be a panelist, raise your hand and I'll bring you on. If not, that's okay too. Here comes Ben. Anybody else want to share while I'm doing that? I got a bunch of hands up.
Yeah, I'll second. I think it was Honey's comment of, yeah, to me, the most exciting part would be finding people with the big lists and the flow of people who have need for these products. I don't know, for me, that just has felt really challenging.
Perfect. I'm going to share some breakthroughs with you guys. 4 breakthroughs specifically that's taken me about 20 years to figure out. One has been a fairly recent thing, which really allowed me to shortcut this process and actually do licensing deals over DMs, right? Which before I was like, holy crap, like this is too complex to do over DMs and stuff. And it would take me an hour to explain and negotiate. And then we have to go over the contract for an hour and all of these kind of things. But I'm going to be sharing that's called Build a Deal. I'm going to be sharing that with you guys. I think it's a revolution. I've been showing it to other people and they've been doing it, maybe not in 15, 30 minutes like me, but faster, right? Through the DMs. I'm not saying you can't jump on Zoom, but it's definitely a breakthrough. I never thought I'd be able to do licensing deals over the DMs. These are typically 5 and 6 figure deals. So you can do them yourself. You can have somebody else going out and doing them for you, those kind of things. Anybody else want to share what they want to find out today? Most important thing. Hopefully I'm going to give you guys way more than you're bargaining for, but.
Hey, Travis, this is Jay here. How are you?
What's up, Jay?
Hey, man.
Thank you so much for all your positive vibes and good mojo. And
yeah, of course, man. Of course, I'm overflowing with it. So yeah, it's good to share.
Good.
Yeah, one of the things that I'd like to get out of it is obviously, just demystifying everything that you've put together, right? Yep. And making making a simple process for us, but also like how to come about it when you're trying to tee it up to a potential new partner. Like, how do you plant that seed? How do you get that in their brains to start thinking? I'm sure you're going to cover that. And then on the flip side, how do you approach
I want
those
to know
other
these
folks?
things. Yeah. So how do you get the conversation ball rolling, and not uphill, we have to roll downhill, right? Okay, if we just give a tap and it rolls downhill, that's much better than trying to push that dang thing uphill. Perfect. Let me bring Adam on. I know he wants to.
Hello. I'm sorry.
Cool. So question for all you guys. You can just do in the camera. If you're not on camera, you can do it in the chat box. That'd be fine. But like, how many of you, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like you don't know anything about licensing and it seems hard and complex and confusing, right? To 10, I'm probably going the opposite way, but 10, this is like easy stuff. I totally understand licensing. Where would you fall? 1, knowing nothing about it. 10, I'm a licensing pro. I'm a licensing master, right? Where would you guys go? If you just want to do something keep your hands up, whatever it is, right? So I can take a gauge there. Lower number means you know less about it. Awesome. Okay. This is actually an advantage. Like, I saw a lot of low numbers, so this is actually to our advantage. Cool. You guys can put your hands down now. Thank you, Andre. This is actually to our advantage because the more complicated it seems to people, the easier these deals are going to get done. Let me ask you another question, though. How many of you guys have ever rented a house? How many of you guys have ever rented anything? You rented a car, rented a house. Wonderful. You guys know way more about licensing than you possibly imagine. If you just imagine a rental agreement and everything that you could do with a house, right? Almost all of these terms are translatable over to licensing, right? If we rent a house, what's some of the things I'm not going to go all deep into these definitions, right? We'll go through them. I'll do another separate training just on definitions and boring stuff like this, but I want to just take some of the fear out of this. And when you think about licensing, think about it like a rental agreement, right? A rental agreement's made between 2 people, typically, right? It could be a corporation and a person, or 2 corporations or something like that. But it's basically a rental agreement, right? What's one of the things that the rental agreement normally has on it? Anybody want to go?
Payment instructions.
What was that, Lynn?
I said a payment instruction or a deal.
Payment. Yeah. How much per month, right? What's another thing?
Terms.
Yours aren't working too good today.
Fabricio said terms, the terms of the deal.
Terms, right? So how long, right? How long is it going to go? What's some other things that might be in a rental agreement?
The definition of what's being rented.
What's being rented, right? Hey, especially if it's
like the rights. Can you sublease? Can you can't?
What's a sublease? Here's something that really confuses people, right? But what's a sublease, right? We all know it in rental contracts, right? What's a sublease? What does that mean?
I understand that if I rent a house and I'm able to sublease, I can rent the house from, let's say it's your house, I'm renting it from you, but then I can rent it to someone else.
That's
like
right.
A second person.
That's right. That's called a sublicense. Same term. Just because you sublease, does that make it your house now? No. Same thing. You can do a sublicense and they can, right? So until I get you guys like all the definitions and terms, if you guys think of a rental agreement, like you guys really know, right, more about licensing. If you just think of what can I do with a property that I'm renting out, right? Because this is just an agreement between 2 people, right? Can I let them bring pets if we both agree on it?
Yeah, absolutely. If we both agree, yeah.
Now, if I'm an agent and the owner says, no, you can't let pets in, then that's going to be limited, right? But yes, you can let pets in. Can you charge more rent if they bring pets in?
If you agree to it, yeah.
If you agree to it, do you have to charge more rent?
Not necessarily.
That's right. Can I let them make improvements?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, if let's say they make $100,000 worth of improvements, does that make it their property now? No, that's called a derivative work, right? Like no matter what they do to the property, right? It's still our property. Can we say, hey, if you do $100,000 worth of improvements, I'll let you buy the whole place for a certain amount?
Yeah,
absolutely. We can do anything
absolutely
we want to. as long as we both agree to it. And so a lot of the terms are very similar to rental contracts, right? So now, without even going over a lot of definitions and everything, like how many of you guys feel like more about licensing? We've only been here for 11 minutes. How many of you guys feel you know more about licensing than when you started? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. If not, there, okay, perfect. So that's a lot of people, right? And so just think of it like that, right? Let's talk about big money from old courses. Somebody asked this question, does it have to be old courses? No, it could be big money from new courses. Does it even have to be courses? I just want to put a container on this so people can wrap their minds around it. Because if I said licensing mojo, I'd be like, oh, nobody would be here right now, right? Maybe 5 people might be here, right? But you can license any type of, just like you can license a rental unit, a house, an apartment, you can rent a bicycle, you can rent, right? All those kind of things, all kinds of intellectual property you can rent. I rented a sales letter. I've rented funnels. I rent GDocs all the time. There's more of a hybrid rental on that, right? But we're going to focus on courses and old courses, right? And just to give us a focal point, is everybody okay with that? But everything that we're talking about, it can expand beyond that point, right? So I always think it's helpful to start with a context we know something about, right? And then build from there. But here's something I want you guys to think about, because I really want you to understand the flexibility and the financial ninja-ness or Ronin-ness you can do with licensing, going from starting with nothing, right, to stacking up income, right? So imagine that your great unknown uncle left you a 2-story apartment building, right? Free and clear, right? It doesn't really matter how many units are in there, but let's say there's 10 units in this 2-story apartment building, right? It's already occupied, but as people move out, right, you're going to put new renters in there. Probably what you're going to do is you're going to look at market rentals to figure out how much we should charge for these spaces, right? But what if inside of the will there was a special clause in there and it said we can add floors. We can add floors to it at no cost to us, right? We can just start adding floors to it, right? We can add floors. We can add floors from 2 stories on infinitum, right? Like Jack and the Beanstalk, just way up to the heavens, right? And let's say that we can make, let's say we just said a thing, we want to make $500 a month profit on each one of those, right? Like how many stories would it take before you covered your monthly expenses, right? How many stories would it take before you covered your monthly expenses, right? Five apartments a piece, right? That's what you get to figure out that math. Is I want you guys to see what's happening here, right? We, with an intellectual property, we basically can acquire the apartment complex for cheap or free or on fantastic terms, and we can rent it out to dozens, hundreds, thousands, an infinite amount of people. Let that sit for a second. It's the only asset class that I know that you can do stuff like that, right? So while this is big money from old courses, I think what's really cool about it is the low stress, the big money, low stress, low activity. Because guess what? None of these people that rent IP from you, guess what? They're never going to have any termites. They're never going to have any toilets. They're not going to call you in the middle of the night with a plumbing emergency, typically, right? Now, I'm not saying there's nothing. It depends on how you structure these things and who you're renting to, right? This, if you rent to a bad renter, right, and you don't get clear on your agreements, like poop can go all over the place, right? But think about that for a minute. We've got basically a house we can copy and paste and put new renters in without incurring a new mortgage, right? All these different things. All we have to do is acquire it once. It could be our course. It could be somebody else's course. We could get it on terms. All we got to do is acquire it once, and now we can rent it out. Dozens, hundreds, thousands, infinite amount of times. You think off the top of your head, anybody or any companies doing this, getting filthy freaking rich?
SaaS companies, any SaaS company, renting things for money.
Give me an example of a SaaS company.
Dropbox from the beginning, that was the first one.
Beautiful. Dropbox. Microsoft, one of the, yeah. So that's right. Is licensing a new business or is it an old business?
Old.
It's actually old business. They were licensing stuff. And I like that because things are old that worked then probably will work. If it worked 100 years ago, it'll probably work 100 years from now. The happy birthday song I think it's in the public domain now. I could be mistaken, but they made lots of money off the happy birthday song in movies and everything. That's how far back it goes. I always use this example, but Elvis Presley died in 1977. His licensing program run by his estate made $30 million last year. He's been dead since 1977 when I was 10 years old. It's pretty stress-free. They're just giving him, saying, yes, you can use this. Yes, you can put Elvis's logo on your t-shirts, right? And they sell a lot more t-shirts, but they get a certain percentage just by saying, yes, here it is. Put it on your t-shirt, send us a check. The biggest thing when you're doing pure licensing plays with no hybrid service in it is collecting your money, right? Hey, did they pay me, right? Do I need to do an audit? Like those kind of things are really the more things that you spend your time on, right? If you're doing courses, you might want to make sure it's updated, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, right? But I wanted to just let this soak in for a minute, right? You guys were intelligent enough to join Royalty Ronin, right? And this is really at the core of it. Everything we do in Ronin, like we think, oh, we're doing sales saver campaigns. No, we're licensing IP. We're just adding a hybrid to it. We're adding some service to it, but really they're just licensing, right? We don't tell them that. We don't say, oh, would you like to license my blah, 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 right? It's very rare that I use the word licensing, right? Beamer, they're licensing a GDoc for me. Now, what I do is I take their own people, right? And I get the feedback and I put it into the T3 or the Google document, and then they pay me a commission, right? We call it a commission, but it's really a royalty for having that sales copy there. Does that make sense to everybody? So everything we do in Ronin, we're actually licensing IP, right? But we're going to just do pure plays now that you guys got your feet wet and those kind of things, right? We're going to do some pure plays now. So I've got some people with their hands up. Adam, I did promote you, sir. Wayne, Alejandro. So I want to go over 4 big breakthroughs with you guys and do them in the order that I discovered them. And every time I made a breakthrough, I made way more money and things got easier and easier for me. So let me check my notes real quick, just to make sure I'm not leaving anything out here. Perfect. So here's one of my big first breakthroughs. I've shared this with you guys in Centers and in the newsletter that we have. But one of the first big breakthroughs I had just in any business is the quit selling onesie-twosie, right? And this is what most businesses do. If they have a coaching program, they sell onesie-twosie, right? Now you might say, Travis, you sold us onesie-twosie here. Yes, I did. I have a different strategy here. I'm building a network basically of guys, and I've already got deals working, right? So I'm building a network. Here's my ultimate strategy here, right? But when it comes to selling stuff, and I'm not saying not to sell onesie-twosie, right? But I bought this old PDF for $1,000 from this old salty dude named Jim Straw. Anybody heard of Jim Straw before? Okay, cool. So nobody's heard of him. He passed away a while ago, but he was probably in his 80s when he passed away. He did business up until the day he died because he loved it so much. But Jim Straw never had more than him and a couple assistants. And he made 7 figures, multiple 7 figures. And he's the big secret. And he did it selling e-com stuff, right? Before there was Amazon and shit, right? But one of the big breakthroughs he had was stop selling stuff onesie-twosie. Your best buyers are also sellers. So we want to sell to sellers, people that are already selling a lot of stuff, right? So when he would want to, he didn't want to sell like 10 things, right, to 10 different people. He wanted to sell like a gross 100 of them all in one fell swoop, right? So he wanted to sell them wholesale, right? He wanted to get into Walmart, right, or something similar to Walmart, get into a distribution center and make dozens or hundreds of sales at the same time. Does that make sense? And he's going to do that by selling to people that are already selling stuff, right? Does that make sense? So the distribution, what he's saying is go find distribution that will sell your stuff for you. They won't, when they make an order, they're going to order 50, 100, 1,000, right? All in one go, sell to sellers. The challenge he had was he always had to get stuff cheaper than they could get it. And he always had to do sourcing for that, right? It's not easy to source stuff for pennies on the dollar, right? Over and over again. Same thing when I was in the land business, like we did really good. But the problem was, right, I would buy a piece of land super cheap. Then I would sell it onesie-twosie, right? I did find some investors that I could sell to, right? But I had to get it way cheaper than they could get it. Does that make sense? But the problem I had was just I had to keep on sourcing this over and over again, right? So I took what Jim had and I put my own twist on it, right? And don't think I'm smart. It's took me a lot longer to do than what I'm telling you here. But I figured out that I got to get out of this buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell thing. Like buying and acquisition takes up a lot of your time and your energy and all this stuff. And selling takes up a lot of time and your energy and those kind of things, right? How can I eliminate a lot of that? And that is we want to rent intellectual property to sellers. We want to rent intellectual property to sellers. When I was doing Magic of Making Up, which is basically, people would say, oh, I was in the ebook business or the relationship advice business, right? In my mind, I'm in the funnel renting business, right? And they're paying me a 25% royalty, right? But I would rent to radio stations that had free airtime, like airtime. So if they had airtime open, they would usually put public service announcements, right? But I could sell dozens a week or hundreds in a month on certain radio stations, right? I would partner up with the astrological sites, right? Usually women cut this, mostly a women thing, and they come there when their relationships aren't going well, right? So I'd partner up with those people, right? I partnered up with other relationship advice sellers, right, that didn't have the solution that I had, and I would sell hundreds or thousands a year to one renter of my IP because they were sellers too. If you're a seller, you need product. Does that make sense? If you're a seller, you need product to sell. Does that make sense? And by the way, the reason I don't do slides, there's a lot of reasons why I don't do slides, but one of them is I want you to write shit down, right? When you write stuff down, you'll remember it better, right? They've done studies on this. What color is a yield sign? And old folks like me, or older folks like me, will say yellow and black, but they changed it to white and red years and years ago. But if you don't draw it out, you'll forget the next time, right? Part of the reason I'm not doing a bunch of slides here, but this would be one to write down. Rent IP to sellers. This makes a big, huge difference. We could do a rental agreement with one person, right? I'll just use Lynn as an example. Probably go back to Lynn here in a minute, right? Lynn had a big breakthrough and he shared it in the group. I don't know this is specifics of the breakthrough, right? But instead of selling his referral program, Onesie-Twosie, to insurance agents, what if he just went to the insurance company that were benefiting by this and say, how many agents do you have? How many would it help you? Would it help you if your agents were better at getting referrals? Would you think you would sell more insurance? Yeah, right? Probably. Does that make sense? So now we can say, how many agents do you have? And I'm making up total bullshit numbers here, but let's say we got 10,000 agents, right? What if Lynn said, well, okay, great, let's do it $20 per head per month, right? I'm just making up numbers here, but that's not too bad. That's 200 grand a month, right? It would take him a long time to sell that many agents, right? Even at the full price that he is now. Does that make sense? So we want to rent IP to sellers. Want to rent. It's the same thing with emails, right? If I'm an email copywriter, I can sell that Onesie-Twosie to clients. Oh, you're going to pay me $500 per email? Okay. I'll write you 10 emails per month, right? Wow. I can't even remember how much I said now, 200 or 500, right? Whatever it is, right? But 2,000 or 5,000 a month, right? But if I say, hey, could your students or hey, would your agents like an email that always gets people to respond back and you do lots of business with it, right? You could sell hundreds or thousands of that by retaining the ownership of that. That's what I do with my emails and GDocs, right? I don't sell them the GDoc. I just say, pay me a percentage of everything that it sells, right? So while some copywriters are out there writing sales letters for $5,000, I'm making $500,000 on a sales letter. While some copywriters are out there selling their copy, selling their email copy for $200. I'm making $10,000, $50,000 on an email, right? And I'm renting it out to other people because I retain that ownership. I'm renting it out over and over again. Now there's a little bit of hybrid there. It doesn't have to be, but there's a little bit of hybrid service going on there. But does that make sense? Rent IP to sellers. Again, I'm not saying don't sell Onesie-Twosie, right? But we're not in the service business. We want to be in the rental business. And when we have so much meat on the bone, we just put these deals together, right? We put these rental deals together. How many of you guys have heard of, we're moving on to the next big breakthrough. This one's huge, right? This makes all the deal getting way easier, right? How many of you guys say, I just don't know nobody, right? That's my problem. I don't know nobody, right? We're going to solve this problem multiple ways, right? But how many of you guys have heard of the term NEER before? Go ahead, Jim. Have you heard of that? You just raising your hand. You've heard of it?
Oh, I thought we were raising a hand if we felt like sometimes we don't know anybody.
Perfect. That's good too. Like as long as I can get some hand raising, I'm feeling good about myself, right? Awesome. So this was a term that I read about in an old book. I started using, but I didn't realize what I was doing exactly. I was like, man, like getting these deals is pretty damn easy. But NEER is NEER. And if you write this down, and just this is all you guys take away, like deal getting is going to get a lot freaking easier for you. But it stands for naturally existing economic relationship. Naturally existing economic relationship. You guys saw a demonstration of that when Rebecca posted in the group later how she's getting somebody to mail their database for her, selling her stuff or her licensing stuff. Anybody want to fill in the blanks for me there? What happened? Anybody see how much you guys are paying attention in the group there? Over one little DM, right? Like I've got guys, I'm not trying to make fun of people, right? Because you guys didn't know about NEER, right? But I've got guys that are cold outreaching to 100 people and they can't get nothing going. And all of a sudden, Rebecca sends out one DM on WhatsApp. And she's like, yeah, dude, go ahead, Michael.
She contacted this guy that has a uniform factory or something. So he's basically just producing the uniforms. And then he said, how about actually I get you more clients and then we can cut a deal. And then you earn more money by selling the uniforms. And then these other people or these other kids in the school, they will get uniforms to wear. And it's a win-win.
That's right. So if you own a uniform company that specializes in gis, hopefully I'm saying that, in gis for people that are taking martial arts classes, right? And you know that most of these classes aren't full, right? So she just reaches out and says, hey, if your client's classes fill up, do you think you'd rent more uniforms? Yeah. We've been doing business for a little while. Do you think this would be worthwhile to do? Yes, let me email my list to you. Let me email you to my list. I can't remember, 1,000. There's 1,000 martial arts studios, right? That would take you a long time to get in front of, right? But that's a naturally existing economic relationship. And one of the ways to look at this is when I say accounts payable, does everybody know what that means? Just raise your hands. No, if you don't know what accounts payable is, that's okay. So these are all the bills that either you pay, right? Or the person you're partnering with pay, right? Because typically the more you sell, like the more business you're going to do with them, right? So if I wanted to license like Sales Saver, right, I already do business with Smart Lead. Wouldn't it be smart, right? Say, hey, I figured out a new way. Like your software is great for cold outreach, but I figured out how to do it for hot mailing, right? Be a whole new market they could open up, right? So I pay a lot. I have a pretty, not crazy amount, but I've got a pretty large amount of accounts payable. And guess what? When you write checks to people, what do you think the odds are that they're going to return your message, return your calls? Very high, right? If you were to come in and try to license some Sales Saver for me, couldn't you still reach out to Smart Lead and say, hey, Travis is a customer, right? And you get that halo, right? You're not going in cold. Does that make sense? But this guy, his name is Walter Haley. He ran a little insurance company and it was brutal. I don't know if anybody's tried to sell insurance. I had an insurance agent and a stockbroker. It's like, it is fucking brutal. You can't even get the word insurance out of your mouth, right? Like, let's click dial tone, right? Like you can't even get the word out of your damn mouth, right? Walter's like, this sucks. This totally sucks, right? And so he found these naturally existing economic relationships on who is going to benefit or business would be ruined if they didn't have insurance, right? And I don't remember all the particulars, but he figured out these grocery stores and all the suppliers, food suppliers, everything that goes into those relationships. Like he could go to the people that supply the grocery stores, to the middlemen, to the farmers, to everywhere in those economic relationships and get referrals, get referrals from all of these people. And if the wholesaler's buying from the farmer and you get the wholesaler to reach out to the farmer, what do you think the odds are that farmer's going to respond back? Very high. Does that make sense? So that's where the money is flowing from the buyer, right? Look, if you're selling something to somebody, you're going to take an intro from them, right? Does that make sense? I'm not getting a bunch of head nods, so I'm thinking it's just the key point to understand, right? We're looking for naturally existing economic relationships, right? Let's use another one. So we already talked about Rebecca's. So Rebecca she owns a martial arts school, right? Smart place. Now here's the thing. Most people don't think of this. Again, so most people don't think of this, and we're going to talk about our little 2 Ronin wild cards in the nightclub thing and why this is just wide open territory, right? But most people don't think of this. And even if they do think about it, they won't reach out, right? But this uniform company has a direct economic survival instinct, right? To have more people come into the class, right? If I'm selling to country clubs, right? I used to sell to country clubs all the time, right? And I want to get influence of country clubs, right? Who does the country club buy from? Golf club manufacturers, golf balls, right? All green. Like, where do they put all that? Where do they purchase all the green from? Does that make sense? What's the worst thing that can happen to somebody that supplies a club, a golf club, that club goes out of business? That could be a huge drop to their business, right? They were actually having a lot of trouble in the golf club world until Tiger Woods started bringing golf back again. And then he went down and now they're back in trouble again. But if I talk about things that golf clubs are interested in, right, that would help save them, then all the suppliers or even organizations that help them, right, boards, you can get in front of the board this way, but you got to talk about those relevant things that they're interested in. Does that make sense on that side? Who's going to directly benefit? That's on the, hey, I'm giving you money side. Now, does it work the other way? Like people that are giving you money, right? Yeah, it does. It works that way too. Hey, we've been doing business, right? Want to appreciate your business, right? Or do you have this situation? We're going to talk about outreach here in a minute, but do you have this situation? Yes, I do have that situation. I got somebody that might help you. So it does work, right? Because you already have that relationship. It doesn't work quite as well, right? If there's not like that survival instinct, that economic relationship there, right? Let me just give some more examples. So I think this is super important. I think examples show this better. On the last call, we had Andre Halaby. I think I saw him today. There he is right there. And I don't want to talk out of lane, but we talked about this a little bit. Like he's got a really good IP, right? That he's running ads for to get people that want solar units installed, right? And it's great. Sell Onesie-Twosie. I'm not saying not to do it, but I think he's got probably $1 million, $10 million worth of IP, right? If you can go out there and just sell what he's doing, right, to other people, but not doing it Onesie-Twosie. So I asked him, like, who supplies your solar panels? That would probably have a direct economic existing relationship. Hey, do you think you solar guys ever say they don't got enough leads? Yes, I've totally figured out how to get them all kinds of leads, right? If you think your solar guys would sell more, would that help you move more solar panels? Yes. It just so happened that Andre bumped into that guy at the airport, right? And was he receptive to the idea, Andre? I don't want to put you on the spot. Yes, he was receptive.
He was very receptive, and he's been messaging me. We haven't met
up. He's been messaging you, right?
Yeah.
And this is the power of NEER, right? So what we want to do is say, hey, whenever I'm helping somebody, who's on their accounts payable list, right? Especially if you're helping them with more business, right? Or if it's consumer to consumer, right? What's a bigger company that's, if you're selling like how to keep people healthier, let's just say healthy and slim, right? Who's somebody that would affect, right? Maybe a big business where like oil fields. The reason I'm using oil fields is I don't know this person intimately. I know somebody that was a 7-figure health coach. She didn't sell it fucking Onesie-Twosie. She got employed by the oil fields because a bad back or sickness would cost them a fortune. Does that make sense? So she went to the oil fields, right? And they say, how much is it to do it for our whole company? Does that make sense? Licensing is a multi-billion-dollar thing, especially to like corporations and such, right? So corporate training is huge, right? Does that make sense? So that's they have a naturally existing economic relationship with their employees, healthy bottom line, sick employees, sick bottom line. Does that make sense? What do companies want? Healthy or sick bottom lines? They want healthy bottom lines. Do they want healthy employees? Yes, they want health. Does that make sense? So these are like breakthroughs, either your own course or somebody else's course, right? You go, if it's a consumer to consumer kind of thing, right? Or a business to consumer kind of thing, right? So now I'm going to put you guys to the test a little bit. How many of you guys know about interior designers? Probably nobody. Oh, so a couple of you guys do. That's awesome. Okay. Let's say, and I'm not saying for you guys to do stuff that you don't have no passion about, right? But we're just using this as an example. Let's say somebody that has an amazing course and it works like all the time on how interior designers can get more traffic to their house listing. Now, what a house, it's almost like a Zillow listing for interior designers, right? I may be pronouncing it incorrectly, right? But like most interior designers, all they're focused on, like most of their business comes in from their house listing. So they're just like, how can I get more traffic to my house listing? And I know it sells Onesie-Twosie really well because I was working with he's passed away now, his name's Peter Spapin, but he would just cold email these people one-to-one. And he's like, Travis, like, I'm upset if I don't get 8 responses out of 10 and close half of them. That's how hot this freaking offer was, Onesie-Twosie, right? But let's say we don't know anything about interior designers and we don't want to talk and interview interior designers. What's something that we could do to find out who has got a naturally existing economic relationship with interior designers? Maybe just using old Google, right?
Architects.
Michael, go ahead.
Architects or someone like that.
Okay.
Fabric stores, furniture stores, you know.
Yep.
Like
design
tools, things like that. Like that they use all the time, like I think like a Canva or the equivalent of that for
software for interior designers.
I would go for real estate developers who are giving them the orders because the money is flowing from the developers to interior designers.
Okay. Perfect. What else? What else could we do?
Magazines.
Good one.
Yeah.
So almost every industry has some type of trade magazine or some type of convention. If we looked in the what are we specifically are we looking for? Let's say we get a trade journal or a trade magazine or even an organization that has a newsletter, right? What are we looking for? Let's just say it's a trade. Does anybody know what I mean? It's a trade magazine. It's just a special magazine just made for that trade. What are we looking for inside of that trade magazine?
Recurring ads.
Ads. Yes.
Yes,
Right. If they're putting ads in there, that's probably going to be a good clue of who's going to be on their accounts payable list. And they probably, the better interior designers do, the better that they're doing. Very good. What's
like their hot button at the time? They're putting out a magazine a month. So what's top of their mind at that?
That's right. That's exactly right. So those magazines just aren't going to write about boring shit. They're going to talk about trends, what's happening, problem areas, concerns, all of those things, right? What's another thing that we could look for? What do a lot of industries have that's not magazine? What do a lot of them do to get to know each other? Conferences, right? So if we found a conference and we found a website that's talking about the conference, what do they normally have on these conferences?
Speakers.
What's that?
A speaker.
Sponsorships.
Sponsorships. And a lot of them will put their last year's sponsorships. We'll say, oh, here's some of our sponsors now, right? These are all naturally existing economic relationships, right? That may be open to licensing stuff, right? Selling those things. They could add it as bonuses, all those kind of things. Does that make sense? So we want to look at these relationships. It's really easy. We're not going to spend a lot of time on outreach because we do a lot of stuff on outreach, but we're going to talk about some spin outreach to NEER people here in a minute, right? But your outreach is amazing. It goes so much smoother when they're like, they live or die depending on how their people do. Does that make sense? And they want them to do better, right? I see some confused faces. I don't know if I'm confusing or it's sinking in, right? This might take a little while to process because, again, I'm giving you like 20 years, right? And I'm jamming it down your throats all at once, right? But we want to rent IP to sellers. What sellers do we want? People that have a naturally existing economic relationship, right? Those are the sellers that we want. Phoneless sales machine. I see you, Jordan, about ready to talk. Let me get this out and then I'll run to you. So many courses that teach Facebook ads or media buying or TikTok, right? As soon as everybody thinks they got a lead problem until they have a shit ton of leads. Then what kind of problem they have? A conversion problem. All these leads suck. I can't convert them, right? So this is where I can come in. And you think an ad agency depends on them converting their leads? Fuck yeah. So if I can come in and say, hey, do you ever get people that complain about the quality of their leads? Yes. I'm sick of it. Does that make sense? It's easier to get those conversations rolling. If we don't hit that hot button, we're going to send out hundreds of outreach messages and we're not going to get any damn replies, right? This is and sometimes it takes a little bit of experimentation, right? I've told this story before, but our little Russellville Country Club here, I used to sell POS systems, right? They could go as little as 20 grand, they go up to 200 grand from there, right? My boss, before I even came there, tried to sell our country club a POS system for years and years and could never get it done. Like maybe the general manager wanted or maybe the restaurant manager, but they could never get it past the fucking board, right? And he'd sent me in to go do an audit, right? An audit is like when you sit and you go through all their tickets and you see how much money they're missing with cheeses and oh, they didn't charge for this drink, or right, they did the tax wrong here, all these little things, right? And so I had to like present to the board. This is probably like the fifth time, like it was a different board, present to the board. And so I told my boss, like, they don't care about any of this stuff, right? Otherwise, you did this the same thing you did before, right? So I'm doing my little song and dance, my little presentation, right, in front of this board of this old, craggly old businessman, right? And I could tell they weren't paying attention. And finally, just, you guys don't care about any of this, do you? And they're like, no. And Russellville Country Club is very small. There's only 30,000 people in the area, right? It's a very small country club. But they had 4 admin women up in the office because there was so much manual labor of going through these tickets, adding it to the billing. Like, there's 4 of them. And I'm like, that seems like a huge payroll to me. All the eyes on me. Boof. Whoa. Little Rock, which does 3 times the amount of business you guys, guess how much admin help they have up there? They do 3 times the amount of business. Guess how many people they have in the admin office doing the same thing that your 4 people do? They're like 6, 8, right? One full-time person. Boom. Ooh, now I had that trigger down. Does that make sense? So now if I'd have been smarter back then, I would have gone to all the NEERs and say, hey, are your folks struggling with payroll? Help them out with their payroll. Does that make sense? Not how much cheese they're using or how getting the orders back to the kitchen fast. Does that make sense? So we want to find that hot button. So I've blurred the lines here. It's hard not to with NEER and the next breakthrough, which is what I call spin outreach. Anybody know where I got the word spin from? We'll see who our old sales readers are here. Oh,
Probably
cool.
spin selling.
That's right. Neil Rackham, situation, problem, implication, need, payoff, spin selling, right? The cool part is we get the situation and problem, like the implication, need, payoff, take care of themselves. So it's really like SP outreach, right? To NEER folks. But like we were talking about, we need to have a relevant situation and a present pain, right? When we do these outreach, I would still open up with personal stuff, right? Or like a normal person, like if you bumped into them, right, at Kroger, or you bumped into them at a barbecue, right? I would still open it up. Hey, aren't you the general manager over at the Russellville Country Club? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I heard you got new greens put in over there. So start it up, right? On a conversation like anything else, right? But then we want to have something that's a situation. I call it a symptom, right? A symptom situation. What is the situation, right? That's possibly creating present pain. Don't turn it into a problem, right? But do they have this situation? It's usually going to be a basis of who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. It's going to be one of those triggers, right? When I was doing relationship advice, again, it was 2008, 2007 had just passed. The iPhone had come out. It changed dating, online dating forever. Skype too, right? There's a lot of long distance relationships out there now, and most of the market hadn't caught up yet with that. So when I reached out to a seller, what were they a seller of? Relationship advice, right? Or dating advice, or they were an online dating company. When I reached out to them, said, hey, are a lot of your people in LDRs? I just say LDRs because we all knew what that meant, which was long distance. They're like, yes, easy situation. Oh my gosh, yeah, we got lots of them in the LDRs, right?
Travis, can
Go
I
ahead.
just interrupt something before I forget?
Yep.
I have spotted a product that we might be actually creating with someone, another Ronin, and it's related to the relationship niche. So we were thinking about reaching you out because a lot of people in this field. So when
PM me. Right.
Yeah, when that is done, and we already started to work on it. And when that is done, then we will reach you out because that's gonna be a killer. No one is doing it.
Awesome. And that is either going to be a great thing or a terrible thing. Yeah. So I mean, just from experience, it's either going to be a home run or
it's going to be a home run. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I like just like data to tell me, but that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to blow, but when I got LDRs. So now I'm trying to, here's our best conversion tool. I don't know if you guys gone through PSM. Our best conversion tool is our finger. Can we point to it? Can we hear it? Can we taste it, see it, hear it, feel it, taste it, touch it? So I try to get it something that they can point at. Do you ever get long emails about folks in LDRs that are going through a breakup? Oh my God. Yes, they used to be like pages long. Does that make sense? So now I've got those things happening on the situation. And then I can say, what do you tell them or how do you help them? I don't know what to tell them. I don't know how, whatever those things are, right? Then I can come in with the implication and need payoff. Do you think if you had something that would help them with the breakups that you could sell that, right? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, would you be open to discussing it? I've got a program that's selling like hotcakes to people in LDRs and breakups. Does that make sense? And of course, we call it affiliate marketing. We're talking about the difference between affiliate marketing and licensing here too. There's a huge difference. But what I was really doing is licensing out my funnel and my product for 25% royalty and all their customers. Does that make sense? So that's a spin outreach. And it might take a little bit of tweaking, right? But what's the situation? If you can't get them to say, yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. You're not going to get into the next part, which is the problem, right? Look at what Rebecca did, right? Empty spots in their classes means less uniform sales. It doesn't have to be the whole Neil Rackham book. Does that make sense? But it's got to be something they like, yeah, that's me. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's an issue. Does that make sense? Going back to Lynn, I don't know if he's still here, but going back to Lynn, reaching out to an insurance company, right? Hey, do any of your agents fall short on their business? And they say it's because they can't get enough leads. Yes, that's something they hear, right? Something they can see, right? What's the timing? Maybe when the economy gets rougher, like it goes down more. Hey, does that make sense? So hey, we're seeing this among other agents too, right? With the fears in the economy, people are cutting back on their insurance, right? Yes. Do you think if your agents had somebody who would help them go through their past customers and get referrals, they would bring more business on the books? Yes, I do. This is what I've been doing for the last 20 years. I may have a way to help you. Would you be open to discussing it? Yes. Does that make sense? Go ahead, Arvo.
I don't know if it's too soon to ask about the flow of the money to you.
Yep.
It seems like there's some options here, right? Either the customer is the one who pays the money 100% to you, the licensee or the partner pays for the customer and it comes to you, or the partner gets a commission when the customer pays money to you. I'm seeing at least 3 different, I guess, how big of does that come into play when you're offering them this great deal? I'm feeling like people would say, I don't want you to get paid, or there's just a lot of options here to play around with the flow.
So in licensing, we're talking about this with the difference of affiliate marketing and licensing, but licensing, the main primary reason, motive for doing licensing isn't money. So
who's primary, ours or the partners?
The partners, typically we're licensing too, and money's not even our primary thing. Long money, not more money, right? We'll get to that here in a minute. It's a good question, right? But there is lots of different options here, right? But what we do want to look at is what's already naturally existing, right? And who's going to benefit economically, right, on that, right? It's usually from helping their people, right? So again, we've got a bunch of stuff on outreach in the Ronin group already. But what I want you guys to get is, if you have that NEER relationship, right, we want to find what's the situation that they might be in. And we're like, yes, that's totally me. Hey, here, with this going on, we're finding this, right? Hey, with Facebook ads getting more expensive and people not showing up to webinars anymore, we're finding a lot of coaches, right, can't sell out all of their spots. Is that something that you guys are dealing with? Yes. Oh my God. Does that make sense? Somebody, gosh, who was it? Somebody here, I think, just did a deal with a payment processor, right, that works with a lot of higher ticket people. Do you think payment processors are hurting if high ticket people's sales are going down, right? Does anybody understand what a payment processor? They process the Visa, the MasterCard, all those kind of things. Dude, what a genius fucking move, right? Go find a payment processor, right? Who are they depending on to make those payments? Here's a little sneaky way to get it in. If you don't, let's say you don't work with any payment processors, most of you guys probably do, or maybe you already tapped out your payment processor. Just ask your people in a group or whatever, what payment processors do you guys use, right? Or whatever that thing is. Hey, who do you use to supply uniforms? Who do you guys use for insurance? Then you can reach out to that person saying, hey, I wonder if you make an intro for me, right? Anything not to start out cold. Does that make sense? Praying I'm not moving too fast for you guys, because we're going to get to the big kahuna now. This is the recent one. This has changed so much. I'm even thinking about just changing the way I do all my deals now.
Travis,
go ahead, Jay.
Before we continue, spin. So I got situation, like basically thinking of it like a symptom and in our terms, and then we got a problem. I'm thinking of like a present pain or something. And then the I and the N, what were those?
Implication and need payoff, right?
Need payoff.
It's probably, they're going to happen naturally, but basically it's the same thing as hell to heaven.
Okay.
You could say, if you dissect Rebecca's short thing, like you could say empty spots, that's the hell. Okay, that's the situation, right? Maybe because of, think about COVID. There's a really good example. Think of what happened in COVID. Now, I was working with some massage therapists, right? And like when COVID hit, think all the people that they're selling massage tables, massage oils, all those people. And all of a sudden now they can't even do any massages. Who's really getting beat up on that, right? Hey, it's COVID. It's a win thing, right? Is COVID affecting your massage therapist's business? Yes. What's the implication of that? That their business is down too, right? If they're providing, let's say they're providing towels, right? They're a big towel or whatever it is, right? Or mud. I don't know. Yes. Then you go to the need payout. What's the heaven? For Rebecca, it was, hey, do you think if they had more students, they would rent more uniforms? Yes. Hey, we've been working with some massage therapists, showing them how to do online classes, right? And those online people need the muds and massage oils and all those kind of things too, right? Or restaurants. Restaurants had a big shift that they needed to make, which was, how do I get people, how do I do this delivery stuff? How do I all of a sudden do I start using DoorDash and Bite Squad and all those kinds of, those are opportunities to find somebody that's got that IP, right? And either do a Ronin deal with them, right? Or if you have that IP, to be open to what's happening in the industry and who's getting hurt by it, other than just selling onesie-twosie. Does that make sense? And then you can go sell a license for 10 people, 50 people, 100 people, right? Those kind of things, right? Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
So you're basically going like with Rebecca. Rebecca would go to the uniform company and tell them, I'm going to sell you the licenses, so you sell the product to your customers, to your gym owners, or
yeah. I think she's just doing it as a promo, but she could easily say, hey, why don't you, if you have a uniform academy or whatever, right? If they order so many uniforms from you, that we'll bonus them in some of the licensing, right? I'm making stuff up because that's not exactly what she's doing there. The same thing that we're doing, right? We're just finding people who've got a lot of leads and not converting them, right? Hey, you're already selling this $5,000 thing, right? What if we bonused in phone and sales machine with that? What would that be worth? Right? I'm gonna get to the build a deal here in a minute.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yes, we're just trying to fill in a gap and a hole for them, right? Does that make sense? So let's talk about build a deal, right? This has been my biggest breakthrough of late. This is how I've gone from taking 2 hours to do these things to getting it down pretty short. So let me give you the punchline first, and then we'll talk about what happens to that. So kind of the punchline is, we want to find out what they want, which is never our licensing. We want to explore how much it would cost them to do it on their own, right? Or do they even want to do it on their own, right? It doesn't have to be big, long. But the next thing we do is we get to the money. We get to the money. What I find is, by getting to the money, if they agree to the money, everything else falls in place. So let me show you the magic. I know, but I don't like scripts, and you can change this up to be what you want, right? But I had somebody we just did a licensing deal with, right? He was doing a launch. What did he want? He wanted people to be excited and to sell more during his launch. And so we could bundle in phoneless sales machine as a bonus to that. Does that make sense? That's what he wanted. He wanted a better launch. He didn't give a shit about licensing phoneless sales machine or licensing my IP. He just wanted his launch to go well, if that makes sense, right? And we explored, hey, like, you could probably come up with something like this on your own, right? We actually want them to say, yeah, I don't want to do that. License the sales letters, like, hey, like, you're pretty good at copy. You could probably do this on your own. Dude, like, this is already working. I just want to take it and tweak it for my own thing. So what do you want? It's like more sales. You didn't want to create that's how fast it can be. Right? It doesn't have to be this. You don't have to make them cry home to their mama, right? Or their business is going to be a disaster. We just want to find out what they want. And then, like I was talking the last call, we want to explore them actually doing it themselves, right? Now, I didn't get a deal. Again, this is not magic. This is not a magic convincery thing. This is a sifting and sorting thing. I was trying to work a deal for Sales Saver. And this guy was really good at copy, and he was already using he was using Instantly and everything. And so I'm like, dude, like, I don't want you to be upset with me when you get this. It's only 5 responses. And one of them, like, almost all of them are just 1 sentence long. Now, the thing is, it took me 10 years to figure them all out, but you could probably do this, right? He said, yeah. And then some other stuff came up in there about things. He didn't have a real clear idea what he wanted to do. So I'm like, look, this sounds like it's not a match made in heaven. And I don't like to force fits, right? So let's not force this fit, right? Perfect. Let's just assume, hey, yeah, I want to use this sales letter, right? It'll save me a bunch of time. I know it's already converting and my program's so similar to this, we could just tweak it up. Awesome. Now here's the big breakthrough, right? It's not going to sound like a breakthrough when I tell it to you, but when you start doing it, right, it's going to be pretty amazing. Awesome. Jim or Wayne, I want to make this a no-brainer for you. What would make this, what kind of split would make this absolutely fucking dreamy for you? Now, if you're not a cusser or you know that they're Amish, don't use that. But what would be a split that would make this absolutely dreamy for you? If you'd say, what would make it an absolute no-brainer for you? You might even want to tie in a couple times, like, I want to make this work, right? I'm open to a lot of stuff. Now, the first thing is you have to get your mind right. You have to get your mind right. Remember, we can rent this out. This is where I fucked up for a long time. I'm like, I want $25,000 up front. I want $10,000 up front, right? And I didn't look at, I can put infinite amount of fucking renters in there. So we first have to get our mind right with, that's we're doing it as a agent for somebody, and even still we'll have some flexibility, is let's be open and flexible for this, right? Now, here's the response you're going to typically get back. They're not just going to give you a number right away. Typically, they're going to be like, gee, I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't done one of these things before. So this is when we have to be benevolent and not just throw out a number first. Totally get that. And use whatever your because is. I really like you. I think it would solve a big problem for you, or any of those things. I just want to make it work. I want you like not to have to think about it. I want this to be super easy for you. What's a split, right? Or what's an amount? It doesn't have to be a split. You can also do it amount. Again, you can do anything that you want to. I've got a really great licensing deal where they have mastermind members and they pay me $150 per month per mastermind member. So the mastermind membership goes up, I get more money. It goes down, I get less money, right? But what would make this absolutely dreamy for you and get them to say a number first? Now, here's what's amazing. People are really freaking reasonable, right? This is why I call it build a deal. Let's say in my mind, I'm wanting to get 10%, right? Because they have a whole lot of flow. Boy, like they've got a whole lot of flow, right? They probably sell 50 or 100 copies a month, right? And I'm looking for 10% and they say 5%. What I can do is build the deal from there. I had this with one of the license I did for a foreign language, right? He's like, how about 10%, right? I'm like, perfect. We can do 10%. Then I'll just talk about the stuff that I won't do, right? Or this is we start building a deal, right? Like in this little area, right? It's a small area. I'm open to giving you exclusive, right? And I'm not saying to always do that, right? But exclusive means you'd be the only person that can sell it in this language, right? You can do it on volume thing or whatever. I didn't do that, right? Yeah, let's do 20% like that, right? On the sales letter deal, he gave me 5%, right? It's typically about a $3,000 thing, which means I make $150 for every sale, right? I'm going to get rich off of this. He's probably going to do 10 or 20 sales a month, but I'm okay with that, right? Would you guys be okay with $1,500, $3,000 a month just for letting him use your sales letter? Totally fucking okay with that, right? But what if I wanted a little bit more, right? And I didn't. I was pretty cool with that. I could have said, hey, Travis, want to push no buttons here? I'm told. So that was my thing. Like, I'm cool with 5%, but Travis don't want to no pushy no buttons. You take it, you tweak it, you test it. Travis, pushy no buttons. Are we in agreement on that? And I'm happy to do 5%. He's a total agreement. Does that make sense? But what if he said, hey, maybe you could look at it for me, right? But we can build on the deal. Hey, let's say I wanted 25%, right? I could say, what if we took that and I tweaked it for you. And not only did I tweak it for you, but I put a tapper in place to help dial it in for your specific traffic. And we got it all working nice and well. And then you paid the 25% with my help. Does that make sense? So we're building a deal together. What I found by doing this is as soon as you start doing the collaboration, like the deal's probably yours. So you can go. Sometimes I go down. They give me too much, right? And my goal with this is like long-term rental income. It's not, how do I make the most money? I would much rather have a quarter every month for the rest of my life than $1 right now. Does that make sense? So sometimes I go down on that. It's so generous, right? I'm not looking for that much. And I want this just to be a no-brainer. It's not a hassle for you, right? I want to be one of the people that you send me money to, and it's just a joy for you. So let's do it. Let's say if they say 50%, right? Let's just do it at 25%, right? And let's say I only wanted 10, right? But I can do 25%. And let's do this. Let's get it running. And then I'll help you iron out any of the bubbles that you get, or I'll have one of my people iron out any of the bubbles that you get, or I'll help you with some extra marketing or any of those kinds. Does that make sense? So we can build the deal together. And as soon as we have that number figured out, the deal usually happens. So let me tell you how I'm doing the agreements now. So licensing has a bunch of terms on it, right? To try to do it by DM or even on Zoom, it's boring as hell. Negotiations open back up and everything, especially if you haven't nailed down the split or the whatever the rental. Again, it's a rental agreement. You guys can do it. You can do 100% and just get the customer's agreement. You can anything you guys want to fucking agree to, right? And it works for both people is what you're after, right? But here's what I've done. I've taken one of the templates out of this, right? This is what I use as the base. Now we're talking about IP here, so I'm not just going to give you the agreement to rip off from this guy, right? But if you get my understanding, if you get this on Kindle, you can get the agreements. I don't know how easy it is to pull down or whatever, but if you get this, I think it's like $20. The old one's got a CD. I don't have a CD player anymore, right? But I'm happy to like give you my template if you guys can show me proof you guys got this book, right? And it's just somewhat hard to download or whatever. But what I do is on the bottom of this agreement, so I take the template, I put in all of our stuff, right? So Chad Boswell Incorporated is going to be the licensee. I'm the licensor. I spell out all the terms, right? Maybe Chad just wants to run it on Clubhouse, right? I just want to sell PSM on Clubhouse. That's the only channel I'm interested in. So I give him a Clubhouse license. Again, you can slice and dice this any freaking way that you want to slice and dice it, right? What we do at this point, right? And again, this sounds simple, but it saved me a lot of nightmarish back and forth, right? So I just put the agreement together. I said, Chad, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the agreement together, right? And I never say sign. I usually say digital autograph, right? But here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give it to you. You read over it, right? I've also got the world's most boring video in there, right? And it's just me going through all the terms. I'm basically going through it's what I used to do with everybody before I did a licensing deal. What's derivative worth? What's the positives and negatives? And I would tell them all the negatives about it. What does exclusive, non-exclusive mean, right? All the terms that are there, right, is right there in a little video that they can watch inside of the contract, right? Or I don't call it a contract, call it agreement, right? So they get it. They either go through the video or they don't go through the video, right? But they have it there. And then they might see something that they want to change. And these are good. This is you guys working on a deal together, right? They see something like one of them said, hey, I got VAT in my country, right? It's pretty substantial. Can we adjust the fees? Can we adjust the royalties based off the VAT? I'm like, yeah. You think that helps the deal or hurts the deal? Helps or hurts the deal to work together, collaborating?
Helps.
It helps it. right? Perfect. So I made that change. Here it is, right? Look over. If you're cool with it, then I will upload it so I can get your digital John Hancock on it, right? Or your digital autograph on it, right? So sometimes there is none, like, hey, this looks good to me. I'm ready to do it, right? So I just upload it, right? But there might be a little like, hey, like I had a typo on one, right? On one, like it's supposed to be 20% and I had 10%, right? And he's actually showing me who he is. Like, hey, I think this is a typo. We read the 20 and this is 10, right? That's good. Like it's a good licensing partner. Does that make sense? Awesome. Let me change that, right? Looks good. Perfect. Now we're going to upload it to sign now, right? And if you just okay it, put your digital autograph on it, we'll be good to go. Does that make sense? I typically do my agreements for a year, right? But it doesn't have to be for a year. You can do introductory royalties. You can do anything that you want, right? There is no like rules on this, which is the good thing and the bad thing. Because people are like, oh, well, what's the rules? What's the industry standard? There is no industry standard unless you're working in the music business or the sports business or those kind of things. There is no, it's just an agreement between people. Does that make sense? So this is how I'm doing these. But what I've noticed is as soon as we agree that they don't want to do it themselves, and we agree to an equitable win-win compensation, the deals get done, right? Without haggling over every little point in the contract and all those kind of things. Does that make sense? I've started doing the build the deal on some other programs, right? And it works pretty good, but that's beta there, but it's working really good in the licensing, right? James is doing some licensing deals. It's working good for him, right? I think it'll work out great for you too. One thing when you're setting up these agreements, whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for somebody else, again, this is like renting. Let's say you own all the rental houses on the block, right? And one rental house becomes open, right? Let's say your normal rent's $1,000 per month on that block. What you don't want to do is devalue your property, right? So I want to talk a little bit about that, make sure everybody's clear on it, right? If it's an old course, most of the time you don't have to worry about it. They're not doing anything with it, right? Now, if somebody just bought it like last year for $6,000, you don't want to just like put it out there for $1,000, right? But if it's like a couple of euro course, you want to change it. I just want to be careful you're not devaluing it. That's like when you get in my agreements, there's always a minimum amount they can sell it for, like PSM. There's a minimum amount that they can sell it for, or there's an amount that they have to sell it for. They can't go out and sell PSM for $7. Does that make sense? Now, there's some other things that they can do that maybe the public isn't facing, right? So maybe says like the guy says, hey, I want to use this as an upsell, but I don't think $1,000 is going to work for an upsell. Would you be okay if we did it at 500? And because the public's not going to see it and it's part of an upsell and a special offer, I might be okay with that. Does that make sense? So we just want to be careful we don't devalue. If it's a course that they're currently selling, right, you want to keep that in mind because you don't want to, if they're selling a course for $5,000, right, and you start licensing it to a big company for $50, and they're going to, you can license for whatever you want, but what they sell it for, does that make sense? What they sell it for is what you want to keep your eyeballs on, right? So if they want to bundle it in as a package, right? So I bundle in phoneless sales machine, I get paid $150 per head, but it's bundled in with a $18,000 a year mastermind. Do you think I'm okay with that? Right, and I get all the customers. Does that make sense? So there is no standard rules. You just want to say, hey, what's happening? Is it going to be devalued? If that makes sense. And it usually it's not so much about the wholesale price as what they have to sell it for. Just like subleasing, right? If you sublease to somebody, now most people won't do this, right? Because if they're paying you $1,000 a month, they're probably going to want to get more than $1,000 a month. Does that make sense? But an IP, right? It could be like, oh, I paid $1,000, but now if I can get a whole bunch of people in there at $100 a month, right? So we just want to look at that. Like in subleasing, we don't want them to sublease it less than we gave it to them or less than market value. Does that make sense?
Hey, Travis, I have a question for you.
Go ahead, dude.
We talked about not devaluing, but what about adding a little bit of value to make it a little bit more personal? Like in your case, your PSM bundle, what about when they're mastermind members get that bundle? Do you like go and update your course, maybe have a little video intro of yourself, just kind of introducing who you are, here's what this is, maybe just not redoing the whole course, but maybe just adding a snippet or two at the beginning or something like that?
I love it. I totally love it. Yeah, you can always add value and you can get more value for it too. And you can slice and dice courses too. If somebody's never heard of PSM, or I can give them a sample of PSM. Hey, before we do anything, here's a sample of PSM. I give them a video, right? Oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Or no, that's not what I'm looking for. It's inside of the build the deal part, right? So I can give them samples and we can talk about, oh, if I did this, I would need X, right? So I'm glad you actually brought that up because I had the opportunity to just blow your mind here. But in the group, Jason Hornung has licensed his AOA in there, which I hopped on it right away. And just for full transparency, we got a deal working out, and I'll probably make you guys a better deal. I think when people look at that, they're just like, oh, it's a media buying course, right? You want to slice and dice things like you're talking about, Jay, because you can literally sell this to 1,000 different audiences and usually look at who, what, and where, right? So let's take an example. Let's say we wanted to work a licensing deal with dog groomers across the United States, right? Dog groomers, like when they have empty kennels, it's hugely costly for them, right? And it's very passive income compared to doing grooming and all the other stuff that they do, right? So one of the ways you can slice AOA is, hey, do your dog kennels have any open spots? Are they yeah. Would it help them if they put videos on TikTok? Right? You get some more. Yeah. So who? Dog groomers. What do they want to do? Dog kennel spaces, right? Or fill their dog kennel spaces. How with TikTok and YouTube, right? So you could like tweak, right, your messaging, your marketing IP to that, right? And plug right in. You could do this again, 10,001 different ways, right? Karate schools, right? Don't do that because Rebecca's already in that business, right? But like roofing, right? Hey, what do the roofers want to sell more? It's usually not more roofing, right? That they're really big into the chemical treatments they can do now, right? Because there's so much margin in them, right? How do they want to do it? Do they want to do it on video? Do they want to do it right on Facebook? Like where do their customers come from, right? So you could tweak those kind of things and sell a shitload of AOA, right? Because it's fantastic and fantastically flexible. You can bundle stuff up. Like you're talking, like, hey, if I bundled up, I'm going to bundle some of that with PSN, right? Hey, I'm showing you how to convert. What people need is a lot of how to get more leads, which I don't typically teach, right? So I can bundle in AOA with PSN. Does that make sense on that conversion lead, right? So I'm not saying you guys need to go jump on that. I'm just saying it's like anybody can start from there. You can add value, right? So these are the things we want to have in our toolbox. Ooh, if I'm doing this, I can add value by adding this, right? And he's pretty flexible, like $90 a year. That's a minimum. That's pretty, like you can do a lot with that. You can make a lot of profit on that, right? I would probably do $99 a month for a kennel, right? Hey, does that make sense? I'm just using AOA as an example, as a really good why jump on it so quick. Ooh, I wish I had more investments like this, right? How flexible it is and how many different people can help. Because it's not just a media buying course that we're just going to sell to coaches, if that makes sense. So that's a good question, Jay. I want to go over a couple of differences here, and then we're going to just like unleash the hounds and see what I didn't cover. Let me ask you guys, what do you think right now is the difference between licensing and a licensing program and an affiliate program? I'll give you the answer a little bit before, right? But it took me a while to figure this out. What's the difference? When do I just make them an affiliate, and when would I make them work out a license deal?
I think I'll give it a go. You can make it a license deal when you know that there is a lot of flow, like distribution, like it's massive. And you can make it an affiliate when you have someone that doesn't have that capacity or doesn't have those resources.
Yeah, or they're just going to do, let me just blast it to my list, or the webinar promo. I'm not against those things, but that would be more of an affiliate kind of thing. You're exactly right. What's another where we might want to use licensing over an affiliate program other than Flow?
It seems there's like a relationship to their ability to sell. If they're depending on you to sell, then that wouldn't be very good licensing usually.
So you want to get in their upsell flow and their autoresponder, or bundled in, like Microsoft bundled in DOS with all the IBM computers. It's still bundled in with a lot of computers, right? It's bundled in. They get all the customer info. They've got Flow for sure. But why did IBM need DOS so bad? Why did IBM need Bill Gates so bad?
Because it didn't have an OS.
It didn't have an operating system. It was basically a piece of
it was just the machine,
box, right? Without that, and this is the key to licensing. Affiliates and affiliate programs and JVs even are largely promo based, and money is the primary concern. Promo based, like WebinarCon just happened, right? Basically, and again, like Andy songs and I'm not against it. It's just you want to use the right tool at the right time, right? Hey, Dionisio, I'll promote your thing, you promote my thing, right? If it goes well, maybe we'll even do it a couple times a year, right? And then if that goes well, maybe we'll just keep promoting. Every time I get a new product, you'll promote my new product, and right? And it's a good money maker. We share that kind of stuff. That's more of an affiliate JV kind of thing, right? And we'll constantly have to be in each other's faces, right? Brokering those things. Or not brokering, but hey, so I got a new launch coming up. Can you support me? Blah, blah, blah. It's that kind of a thing, right? Solving the problem, solving an evergreen problem for your audience is tertiary. It's just, let's make some money, right? And I'm being a little bit crass about that, right? But licensing is more about solving the problem first. What's the problem that we're solving for their people? Like empty classes, right? Marshall, I want to help my people solve their empty class thing. Then of course they're going to order uniforms from me. Does that make sense? But the licensing is more about solving a problem for their audience, or an evergreen problem that they're going to continue to have. It's less about the dollars and the promotion. Does that make sense? I'm not saying it's not about that. I'm just saying primarily what it's about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, in the example of Rebecca, the karate dojos, the people who make the uniforms are using her system as a tool for those dojos to be more full, so they order more uniforms from them.
That's
so it's
right.
a tool for them to sell more.
That's right. So if we look at old traditional type of licensing too, right? Jimmy Buffett passed away, unfortunately, but he's going to continue. His estate's going to continue to sell Margaritaville logos and everything, right? But if I'm a flip-flop company, I'm saying this because I got some flip-flops with Margaritaville or Margaritaville, the Margaritaville logo, right? I don't know how much money Jimmy Buffett got from that, right? But they're always going to want to sell more flip-flops. And as long as Margaritaville's hot, they're going to give him a 5%, 6%, 5% to 10% royalty for every pair of flip-flops that he sells from now into perpetuity. It's a long-term problem. They're not just saying, hey, and it could be like that. They do that with movies, right? Movies get hot, so they do promotion sometimes, right? McDonald's says, oh, we want to put your stuff in our Happy Meals, right? So there is those limited time deals, right? But licensing is typically an evergreen solution to either your renter's problem, right? Or the people that they're selling to problem, right? So we want to keep that in mind, right? And what we're trying to do, since it's IP, is we're trying to stack up rental income, right, with as little work as possible. If we're just doing pure licensing, if that makes sense, right? So we want it to be an evergreen problem, right?
Travis, I have a question.
Yep.
The question that I have seen for many years, and I still haven't figured it out. I worked in the IT industry for a long time, and I realized that some of the companies, they don't offer an affiliate, or they don't offer anything other than, you can see it on the website, says become a partner. So when you go there and then you inquire, basically what the condition is for it to work for them and the partner is this: you need to actually sell the product. Not only that, but also you need to support the product. So it's like a job. You have to support the actual product. For example, an antivirus software, all right, or a security software. Then you need to actually support it. That means that you need to hire people to support the bloody thing. And that's not the Ronin way to do it. So how can we get around that situation, if there is any?
Well, are we trying to license their product? Which we can, but that's typically not what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the rights to somebody's product. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, right? But if we're licensing our own stuff, we already have the licensing rights to it, right? If you have something that I want to sell, right, and I'm going to be basically the seller and the licensor, we're going to work the percentages based off of how much I'm doing or not doing. If you have to do a whole bunch of work, then my percentage is going to be higher, right? If you're going to do all the support, right? If I'm licensing your software and just white labeling it, right? That's what's Go High Level's affiliate deal. I don't even know, but so you just got it's the agreement part. But I don't look at if they have a partner program or any of those because all those rules are out the window, right? To me, it's even better if they don't have an affiliate program, or they don't have. I'm not saying not to sell to Walmart, I'm not saying not to license to a quote unquote Walmart, but Walmart is in the licensing business, right? We want to do something that's probably less big than Walmart, right? But not too small. Does that make sense? Because Walmart's going to want all kinds of terms and all that kind of stuff, right? They won't want to pay you for 6 months.
I just thought of something instead from what you've been talking. I think the better thing would be just to rent it and say, I'm gonna put your products in with someone else that actually are gonna do the work for you. I'm just gonna connect you, and I'm gonna find someone else that will do the support, and then you don't have to do that, but then I will connect you with these other people. Yeah. These other companies are experts in doing this, and that will be a right fit for your product, and therefore you just get the commission for getting more deals for them.
Yep. So that's a sublease or a sublicense, right? Kind of thing. I call it an IP arbitrage. Let's say that Jim has a course, doesn't matter what the IP is, but he's like, dude, I don't want to I want to get a certain amount a month from it. That's all. I'm getting ready to put a daughter into college, and I just need to know I'm getting $2,000 a month, right, to put my daughter through college. So if I know that he needs $2,000 a month, then I have an arbitrage situation where I can just do an arbitrage, right? We did this, like a lot of stuff I learned in real estate and land, right? So say somebody wants $100,000, say the seller of the land wants $100,000, but he's not interested in getting it all up front. It's okay if he gets it in payments, right? I'm like, hey, what do you need the money for? I need to send my daughter to school, or I need to whatever, right? So what would you lease this land to me for, right, per month? Lease with the option to buy, or lease with the option to buy, like $500 a month. Perfect. So now I can go put somebody else in there for $1,000 a month and make 500 on the RB. The advantage we have in IP is we can do that multiple times. Does that make sense? Sometimes it's just better to buy their IP and it just makes things cleaner and easier, right? Most people that I've done this many times with courses and just smaller stuff. I'm just like, hey, what do you want for me to get the master rights to this and just take over the exclusive master rights? And they're like, I don't usually say it that way, but hey, I want to own the IP, right? What do you want for it? It's just usually, especially if it's a trash can asset, you're like, I don't know. Tell me a number that would work for you, right? And if it's huge, then I can do an IP option, right? Hey, I can get it going, or there's, again, it's just an agreement, however you guys want to work it out. So you need to buy it cheap, get it free, or work on terms, right? As far as sourcing it, right? Part of the terms, like, what do I got to do for this? If they're like saying, hey, you got to do all this X, Y, and Z, and you don't want to do it, but don't do it, right? Or pay them more to do it. Does that make sense? You just build the deal with them, right? Does that make sense?
Thanks for that.
You're welcome, dude. So we talk about licensing versus affiliate differences, right? Some people say, well, what's the difference between licensing and a continuity business? You're really just talking about continuity, right? You're just talking about continuity. What do you guys think the difference between licensing and just a continuity? Or let's make it easier. Renting. What's the difference between renting something and a subscription business? That probably makes the question cleaner. What's the difference between renting something and a subscription business?
Maybe the terms. If I'm thinking renting, you rent a house for, I don't know, for X amount of time, but
good.
Yeah, but the other way around, it's up to you.
How long do you have to have a Netflix subscription for?
There's no end.
You can cancel it anytime. So that is a good difference. What's another difference?
If I own that subscription business, I would still have to serve my customers. And if I'm licensing something to somebody, I don't need to serve the customers.
Okay, good. Who's going to do the selling, right? What else?
The money is being processed by the licensee when he sells the product.
Yeah, it can actually be processed by whoever you say. That's a good point. There's some, I see it as a Beamer situation. A lot of times, like, if I really trust somebody and their products are good, I can take their money first. Typically, I just let them take the money first. It's just easier that way, but it actually takes some risk off me. If they get too many chargebacks or too many refunds and that reflects badly on me, right? I don't want that. So I'd rather just not have that risk. That's not everybody, right? But you can just say, but yeah, typically I'm just talking about what's the difference between a subscription, right? I'm subscribing to something and versus I'm renting something.
When you're renting a house, you're the only one that can rent the house. When you have a subscription, many people can have a subscription to the same thing.
Okay, good. So you get some exclusivity on some levels, right?
Yeah, when you're renting.
Yeah. The big thing is we're after long-term income as Ronin, right? I'm not saying short-term income is bad, but we're after, like, we just want to rent it and just get that monies. Get that monies, honeys, right? And a subscription model doesn't typically lend itself as well as licensing, because is a subscription to Netflix, is that a want or a need?
That's a want, definitely.
That's a want. And it's typically considered a luxury. Some people are like, oh God, I can't live without this. I'm not saying that, right? But when it comes down to it, if somebody's really scraping by, right, they're going to shut off their Netflix before they turn off their electricity, right? Or they're going to turn off their Netflix before they stop paying the rent, if that makes sense. So subscription model is very often a want and a luxury, right? And it's different between different subscriptions and stuff. And some people are labeled subscriptions, but they're really a utility, like Smart Lead, right? Now that I've got all my domains on there and I've got all my stuff on there, it becomes more of a utility almost. So it's good to see those distinctions too, right? Or web hosting. It's a pain in the ass to change web hosting. I've got a web host I should probably change, but I'm like, damn, I don't want to go through all that. So
pain of disconnect.
That's right. So renting is typically a need and a utility based thing, right? So like a lot of the PSM that I license, they actually answer questions and they support it and everything, right? But they need it for all their new members coming in too, right? Here's something too, because people get confused about this. We're so much into the coaching thing. We're like, if a company buys it and all their employees go through it, why would they keep buying the licensing to the training? Turnover, right? So let's use Rebecca's. If Rebecca's licensing out the ads and the support for $1,500 a month for a martial arts school, and they've got somebody trained up to run the ads for them, and they leave, who's going to teach them how to bring the ads back, right? It's not going to be the owner typically, right? They're not going to sit down. So they just put them through the program again. And so it becomes a training. So it's always there, right? They can go through the training, all that kind of stuff. So it becomes a utility for a lot of companies, right? If Lynn's referral program adds 30% to their insurance business after a year, right? They don't want to keep retraining new agents on it, right? And come up with their own stuff. They want to just plug them in to Lynn's referral program, right? Does that make sense to train new agents? So turnover, right, is part of the utility in training, right? Does that make sense? So again, it's important, like, we don't get too focused on the tool and what job are we trying to do, and then what tool would it be good for, if that makes sense. Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, yeah, on Rebecca's thing there, just there was something I was hearing that I just want to check out with you. So essentially, she's licensing the ads, the IP, and is the training for free? It's like we have this training over here. You're not paying for training, you're paying for the licensing of the IP.
She just says it however she's selling it to them. Hey, so yeah, we have training. They can attend the training every week and get up to speed, or if they have any problems, right? So that they don't really care about the IP so much, right? But they just want to, hey, they want some people to run their ads and fill their classes. That's all. They want full classes, and they know this is the way to do it, right? They don't want to know anything about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then we've talked about this before, and it's beyond the scope here, but we do want to protect ourselves by running flow through us, right? If we got training, right, we can keep it in our Kajabi or wherever your thing is and give them a link, right? That way we can pull it if we need to, right? Or if we're licensing out a funnel, right, they're calling a phone number, we can control the phone number. And we just make that a mandatory requirement, right? You like, when this funnel comes with a phone number, that way I can track all the leads and I can see how we're doing, right? But that also means I can turn that shit off anytime I want to. Does that make sense? But yeah, we want to, Rebecca does it. So she was just saying today that their ad accounts are actually on her business manager, right? So she can just turn off the ad, right? So they log in and do everything, but she controls it. She's a smart girl, right? So let's get to our 2 wild cards from the post that we did. Anybody remember that post we did in Ronin 2? Ronin walks into the nightclub, right? There's a bunch of guys sitting at VIP and there's girls over here. Like, how do we score a spot at the VIP table and develop a relationship with the guys and maybe have some combos with the girls? It was interesting because I wasn't so much looking for what is the exact scripts and what the exact plan it was, which I think is good to look at, right? But the idea, and again, I'm not trying to beat up on people, but it's like somebody posted a success story. Oh, is that cold or warm? Like, for some reason, if it's warm, they're totally out of the fucking game, right? Oh, shucks, that won't work for me because it was warm, right? So what I wanted you guys to pull from that is, even nobody knowing who you are, you guys can look at a marketplace. A nightclub is the market. You can look at a marketplace, say, who has a supply of something, right? Who has a want for it? And the wild card, you tell me, what are some of the what's the wild card that makes it? Ronin can walk in anywhere and start doing fucking business if he has these wild cards, right? What's happening there, right? You don't have to know anybody, right? But what's happening? There's a couple wild cards there.
Find somebody that has a need and find the person that has what this person needs.
Okay, so let's say there's a guy sitting at the VIP table, right? He sees a group of girls over there. Like, ooh, they sure are pretty. They sure look interesting. But then what happens? 90% of the time, what happens?
They don't go and talk to them. They're scared.
Yes. And so
They're very
there's
scared.
there's a girl sitting over, maybe there's a group of girls and they're eyeballing a bunch of guys. Like, oh, they look, I actually know him. He's like the CEO, blah, 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 blah. And he's really cool. But what happens?
No action.
Nothing. This is typical. It's one of the wild cards that we can, it's one of the wild cards that we can bring. And that wild card just has to be the willingness to initiate an introduction. A willingness to initiate an introduction. If the two parties want to get together, we almost can't fuck it up. So one of the wild cards is, and so the reason I'm bringing this, if you don't have any courses, I was like, oh, Travis, screw you. I just sat through 2 hours of this. I don't have a course. Like, this totally sucks. I don't know anybody. Go back to that post and realize in any marketplace where there's a supply of something and somebody wants it, one of the wild cards that we have, I don't care if you're just out of the fucking penitentiary. I don't care if you're bankrupt, out of the penitentiary, right? I'm not saying to be a bad person, but if you can look at a marketplace and see somebody wants something and somebody wants it, you can almost be willing to bet they won't fucking come together on their own, even if they're in the same fucking room. Now you take them out of the same room and the probability of them ever fucking connecting, does it go up or does it go down? Way down. Do you have to make them a promise? If you go to the VIP table of guys and strike up a conversation or whatever, but hey, I think there might be some girls over here. I keep noticing them eyeballing you guys, right? I'm not sure. I might be able to bring them over to the table. Are you guys just here for a boys' night out, or would you be open to that, right? Oh, no. Who are they? Curiosity. Who are they? So it doesn't really matter where you start out, right? I'd probably start out with the guys first, but that's just me, right? I'd probably start out with the guys first. Again, don't get, oh, start out with guys first. Start out, I'm just telling you, but as soon as they say, yeah, because nobody really likes to initiate the conversation. Now there's another wild card that comes into place. It's the coolest fucking wild card. Even if, let's say they were planning to go initiate something, what can we do better than they can? And I don't care, it doesn't matter that you have more skill, but just because of the situation, what can we do better, 5 times better than they can do when it comes to connecting those two groups?
Have a better offer.
What's that, Fabricio?
Have a better offer, a better plan.
I don't know. These guys might be pretty, they might know magic tricks and can captivate a girl and all this kind of stuff where I don't, right? Like, I don't want to do this is a built-in, it's not just a Ronin advantage, it's a built-in advantage.
You can validate them.
Yes. I can introduce Travis Spiegel way fucking better than Travis Spiegel can introduce Travis Spiegel. Even though we have the same first name. What am I talking about here? What am I talking about here?
When it's the transfer of power, when they do it on the conferences, when instead of just you coming out and say, hi, this is Dionisio, I'm this and this, and I've done this and this, it sounds different if somebody comes up and this, and next it's going to be Dionisio. This guy has been doing this, has been 20 years online. He has sold millions of bucks. So he
Right.
can say it in a way I can't, because it would sound not selfish, or I don't know how the word in English, but it would sound differently.
That is totally right. This is a built-in card that we can introduce somebody better than they can. And we don't say that. I'll tell you what to do with that here in a minute. We don't say, oh.
So do you call that like the power of endorsement or something like that?
Yeah, they don't know who we are, but just the fact that we're not that person, we can introduce them better than they can introduce themselves. So if let's say I'm starting out with the guys and the guy's like, yeah, we'd be interested in meeting these girls. Knowing what I know, what might be my next questions, or what might be my next?
To find out something about them so you can go ahead and sell it to the girls.
Absolutely. And do you think they're going to open up? Right? Hey, are you guys all in the same company? Can you tell me a little about yourself? So when I see them, I can put you in the best light. Yeah. And they start talking, and you just give them, go, hey, we work over at Microsoft. Oh yeah, what do you guys do at Microsoft? And you build those things. What brings you guys here tonight? And they're going to open up and talk to you because they want to make the best foot forward that they possibly can. Does that make sense? These are two wild cards that we're always going to have. We don't have to know anybody. We just have to be able to assess the situation, say who would be good to be putting together, and be willing to initiate that contact, not make a big promise, because we can't promise anything. Does that make sense? If I was reaching out for Rebecca, let's say I didn't say I was working with Rebecca, I could totally do that. Hey, I'm working with Rebecca. Like, she's buys your uniforms. You know who I'm talking about? Oh yeah, we and Rebecca go way back. Rebecca was thinking. She wanted me to get in contact. She's been thinking, like, she's wondering if your customers had more kids in the class, do you think you'd sell more uniforms, rent more uniforms? Oh yeah. Does that make sense? So now we're in the door without them even knowing who we are. Does that make sense? But we have to. Now, Rebecca's a special case. Most people aren't Rebecca. They're never going to go do that. They're never going to go do that. You guys believe that? Like, you guys believe that most people aren't going to go do that? Or yet, like, I've had a whole room of, there's about 30 people in a room, and all these people were like coaches, and most of them taught sales or how to get leads. And I asked them, I said, let's get real for a minute. If you guys had a magic wand and all you could do was sit and coach and teach and create stuff and never had to sell again, how many of you guys would want that? And every single fucking hand went up. Creators want to create. They really don't want to sell. So this is one of the advantages of either you're doing licensing. If you're working as a licensing agent to license their stuff, they're not going to want to get out there and sell it. One of the advantages is, like, hey, would you like to have sales coming in every single month? You don't have to sell it. My God, yes. Does that make sense? Again, don't start trying to sell licensing, because they don't want licensing, but they do want, hey, would you just like to focus more on creating and not have to worry about so much about the sales coming in? What if we could reach new markets? Right? Again, just like the nightclub thing, right? Hey, you could say, hey, are you doing great? Do you have any room for capacity, or would you like to go out? I might have some markets for you, right? That we can bring folks in, right? Especially if you don't like to sell so much, they'll do all the selling for you. What? Does that mean you have to promise that? No. It's like you can't promise the guys at the VIP table that you can bring girls over, right? Or if you're going to the girls, you can't. Well, you can promise kind of if you already got the deal from the guys, right? Yeah, we're open to bringing the girls. So that's why I would start with the guys first, right? Because now I can go to the girl. I can pass them on the way to the bar to get a old fashioned. I can swing by and say, hey, there's a group of guys over there at the VIP. I wouldn't point to them. I'd use curiosity. A group of guys over at the VIP table or would like to get to know you, right? If you guys aren't out just for a girls' night out, let me know and I might be able to introduce you guys, right? And I'd go get my drink. Curiosity will kill them, right? Even if it's just to know which table it is. Does that make sense? So that's what I would like to have set up already. So I just kind of want to swing this back to, if you're just getting started today and you don't have anything, right? The way I would do it first is go look for a distribution partner, right? Look for that naturally economic existing relationship, right? Let's say that I didn't know Rebecca, right? And I went to all these gi uniform places and mat places and softwares that dedicate themselves to martial arts schools, right? And all these people that are naturally economically dependent on the schools doing well. And I got a bunch of interest. Yeah, if you could help my people fill up classes, I would be totally open to it. I'd be like, great. Can you tell me a little bit? If you're on a Zoom call, can you tell me a little bit about your uniform company. Like, how many customers do you have? Say they have 1,000 martial arts students. Now, if I go to Rebecca, let's say I didn't know Rebecca, and say, hey, I have a uniform company that has 1,000 people, 1,000 martial arts schools that they sell to all the time, and they would like help filling up their classes. Would you be open to discussing it? Do you think you're going to get a lot of takers on that? Absolutely. Just by using those cards, the willingness to initiate a conversation, or introduction, and understanding that it's not that we're special, it's just that somebody else will always be able to introduce you better than you can.
I think that's the way Onassis did to create his shipping empire. He went to the Middle East, I think after the Second World War. They had all this oil and they didn't have a way to ship it to the United States. So he first did the contacts there. Then he went to the US and went to the banks and listen, if I had a contract from the oil producers in the Middle East, would you give me the money to build the ships? And he said, of course we would. And that's the way he created his big empire. He got the people who had the oil and the bankers, and they told him, listen, if I have the money, would you give me the oil, and vice versa? And that's how it happened.
That's how a lot of deals are put together when you're starting from nothing. I always talk about the oil sheiks and the Lamborghini, but there's no reason why you could, like, who knows a bunch of oil sheiks and say, hey, if I could get them a special deal on Lambos, do you think they'd be interested in it? Yeah. As soon as you got that, yep, I might say, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, how many sheiks, what pricing would you want? What kind of special deals would you want? Right. But now I've got power. Because if I call a Lambo, hey, I'm representing 500 oil sheiks and we're looking for a Lambo place that can supply them, right? How many dealerships do you think they're going to let me in to talk to them? Now, if I say, hey, let me speak to your marketing guy, I have a hell of a marketing program I can sell you guys. Like, what do you think is going to happen there? It's going to be terrible. I'm going to be sending out cold email and direct mail until I'm fucking 85 years old, right? Trying to do deals. Does that make sense? So let me blow your guys' mind one more time, and then I'm going to just open this up for questions, right? Let's say you have somebody that it doesn't matter. They sell, doesn't really matter what they sell, but they sell how to do TikTok ads, right? And they got this amazing breakthrough course. It's different, right? And it works where everybody else struggles with it. They figured out like the little tweak to it, right? On selling TikTok ads. Let's say they've sold it to, it doesn't matter, 2,000 people, right? And they're like, yes, I would like to license my stuff out. Where would you start? It's almost too simple. And if you overthink it.
Advertising companies?
No.
Influencers?
No.
Agencies?
No.
TikTok.
Their own audience.
Huh?
Their own audience, like their own people.
Their own audience. There's people that are on there, right? That are probably competitors, or they're trying to see what this other person's doing, or they like their stuff and they use it for their stuff and it works great, right? But they want to take it out to somewhere else. Their own audience is the most likely play. Just if you guys do a Beamer deal, the best thing is to sell their own customers. It's the same thing here, right? If I want PSM people more licensing, right? If I needed a whole bunch more, I just say, hey, are you open to selling PSM and keeping most of the money? Right? Oh, yes, I am. Does that make sense? Where's another place that we would start? So we got our own audience. Starts with an N.
NEER?
NEER. What's their own naturally existing economic relationships? Right? So they'd say, hey, tell me about your accounts payable. Who are you paying every month? Who's paying you? Or that'd be their customers, right? Their own network. Does that make sense? I think all of our best partners, our best employees, everything comes from our own audience, right? I think it's a useful place to come from until data proves us different, right? But that's exactly the first place I would go. If you're going to do a licensing, you're going to be a licensing agent for somebody, which again is a very old business model, very lucrative. Most people don't understand it. They make it complex, but licensing agents, like if somebody's going to license Elvis on t-shirts, they're probably going to get 30% to 50% of the licensing fees for putting the deal together. Now that may be a 5%, 10% deal, but if they're going out on t-shirts, 10 million t-shirts a year, right? Does that make sense? But the best place to start were people that already bought t-shirts from them. Am I guaranteeing, right, that there's probably somebody that's bought an Elvis t-shirt, right? Maybe he's bought, you can look at multi-buyers. Who's bought more than one? Who's bought 10? Who's bought 100 already, right? So I'm just saying probably the best people, like, oh, they bought t-shirts. I wonder if they would like to license something else from Elvis, right? Does that make sense? It can be that simple, right? If you got your own programs, like somebody here licensed or does Etsy stuff, lots of great Etsy stuff. Who do I make a partner? Start with your list. Hey, I've got this great program that helps people do this. Would you like to sell it and keep most of the money? And especially talk about the problem that it solves for people. Hey, if you can talk about the problem that it solves this problem for them, plus you get to sell it and keep all the money. If you'd be interested, reach out. Those are easy deals to set up. Does that make sense? Any value in that? Like these can be really simple to put together for yourself. I know Travis Spiegel, you've got a bunch of old clients and customers, and you probably do all kinds of damage. So
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to roll some of this in. And my best customer, my own list has been the best place to get Ronin deals too.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? So let's recap a little bit. So rent IP to sellers. Rent IP to sellers. Use NEER, looking for the naturally existing economic relationships first. That's going to make your outreach just go like smooth as butter. Use your spin outreach. What can they see, hear, feel, taste, or touch that's popping up? Get them to shake their head yes a few times, right? Before we get into the problem. Don't assume they have the problem. There's no convincing here, right? Hey, I've got people in LDRs and I do get those long breakup emails, but I've got a way to handle them. Awesome. If we get enough of those, we know we don't probably want to license that program if we're going that direction, right? So spin outreach. Then how do we do our deals? You remember, how do we do our deals? We want to pitch them, right? We do a build a deal. We build it together, build a bear. Hey, what do you want this bear to look like? Again, this really natural, like when somebody's buying land, like it required almost no training for James and Jeff. It's like when we did land, we're like, hey, what do you want to do with the land? Same thing here. Hey, what do you want? What are you trying to do? I just want to buy this land that's next to me and I want to leave it to my grandkids. Oh, okay. Nobody's buying land. Hey, I want to get this because I like to shoot over there and I don't want any crazy damn neighbors. I want to be able to shoot them. Nobody's buying land either. They like have something they want to do with it, right? So we always want to figure out, nobody wants our shit. I can say that a million jillion times. It's always a reminder for myself too. But the biggest mistake we make is we got great shit. You should want it. Let me convince you. No, we're sorting and sifting, right? So then we build the deal, right? Man, I just want to make this awesome for you. I want to make this a no-brainer. What would be a dreamy split for you? And just realize most people aren't just going to come out and give you a number. So you got to, I'm not sure. You tell me. I don't know what's going to make it absolutely freaking dreamy for you. I don't want this to be a burden. Like when we're doing this partnership, I just want to make this one of your favorite payments because you're making so much money or solving this problem for them. What's going to make it a damn no-brainer for you? And I cuss a little bit, but right. How about this? And usually it's very generous. It's very workable. And then we figure out if we want more, what can we add to it, right? So we build the deal. from there, right? Remember, there's a difference between licensing and there's a difference between affiliate programs. If it's primarily about money, short-term money, we just want to use an affiliate program. We're trying to do long-term deals, right? Different from subscription model. We're not doing Netflix subscriptions. We're looking for long-term renters, right? And then remember, we got wild cards. We can put all these deals together that we want if we're willing to initiate, if we're willing to look at the marketplace and say, ooh, here's a need here. Ooh, here's the people that have it. These people will never come together, left to their own terms most of the time. So we're willing to initiate contact, right? And we can make better introductions than they can. And start with their own list. Start with their own NEER network. Start with their own network, right? If you're starting out from scratch and you're if you just got kicked out of your house and you're homeless and you're at the public library, right? Don't try to put deals together by cold outreaching people. Start with their NEER network. Start with the list they already have, right? Awesome. So I'm all pumped up. I see the energy waning a little bit here. I don't know if I'm just cramming you guys full or what's happening. But let's open it up for questions, and you can stop hearing me talk so much, and you guys can add some stuff. Let's do this. What's been your biggest aha or breakthrough? Just share one. You're going to be limited to one. Anybody got what's your biggest breakthrough or aha?
To be honest, so many of them. But probably just the ability to just connecting people.
Perfect.
Making sure, what someone else wants, and then build the deal. This is
I love it. The world is fucking ours, right? The world is ours. We can do whatever we want. IP is like the best asset class in the world, right? We just got to understand the renting of it and putting people together, right? That's awesome. Honey, what's yours?
The first thing is that the licensing is a long-term game. Okay.
Good.
Because the licensing deal that I was trying to do, the LinkedIn ads credit one, in that deal, Microsoft is ultimately controlling when they can kill that deal. They can stop that program and I won't be able to license it anymore. So that was the first aha moment. And the second is the one Michael mentioned. I actually made a note with my own saying that collaborate, do not negotiate. Okay. So those
I
are
love that. Dude, that's amazing. I'm so glad I asked this. So anybody else, this is all about me, not you guys, because I totally do this. What else is see if we can go with one, right? What's your biggest breakthrough? What's your biggest breakthrough on this?
There's so many deals. The opportunities are just endless.
Dude, that's a good one, man. That's how I wake up every day. And it really helps your deal making too.
Yeah.
It's like, just sift and sort, sift and sort, sift and sort. We don't have to convince people, right? Hey, and I even bring it up. If I was you, with all the marketing knowledge I got, and you already got this, I might just try to put this together myself. I want to get that out there, right? I want to explore that. Or they're going to push back like, oh, hell no. I got too much shit to do, man. Awesome. I want to make this absolutely freaking dreamy for you. What would be a split that would just make this like an absolute no-brainer? I'll just go on and on there. Just simple for you. Perfect.
So,
go ahead.
So in this case, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good, dude.
You were saying about the courses. If we find someone that's doing a launch or that PSM would be a good fit for their customers, even if it's a NEER relationship or it's somebody selling a product, but if they would bolt in PSM, that would be a much better outcome for them. We could say that we represent someone that has a course that can be licensed to them. Just put them together.
Yeah, I usually don't. Yeah, I know you're just getting used to it. I usually don't use the term license. I usually say, hey, there's a course that sold for $6,000. Totally helps people like tap in or make big ticket sales in the DMs. I know you get a lot of leads. Would that be something that might be useful for your people? Yeah, it would be, right? It sold for $6,000, but he'll let you sell it for pretty much whatever you want over a certain amount, and you get to keep most of the money. That's usually the word. Like, it solve a problem, you get to keep most of the money. So I don't like to use the word licensing because people brain fry when you say licensing, right? At the beginning, right? Which is good for us, right?
And then if they say, sure, let's talk about it, we just DM you and put in contact with you. or
No.
okay?
Yeah.
Good, I asked.
So what I want from my agents is just to close a damn deal, and I'll give you 50% of it typically.
Okay, got it.
But we would have to talk some, and you have to know my minimum requirements. So if you were going to be my agent, right? It sounds terrible, but I don't want a bunch of referral. Actually, you could refer them. Like I wouldn't turn down a referral. I'm going to give them to Jimmy, and Jimmy's going to follow up with them, right? But I think if you wanted to, I'm talking out both sides of my mouth right now, but like typically the better thing is just for you to sell them, right? So if you get a guy that said, oh, he's got a course we're going to bundle it into, he's agreed to give you $100 for every course that he bundles it into. I'm like, great. So let's split that 50-50. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yeah.
As long as my big thing is Travie, no wanna pushy, no fucking buttons. I don't want it to fill up spots on my calendar unless I'm doing it for joy or to build an asset, right? Does that make sense? That's my big thing. And I'm gonna actually be taking on more licensing agents, right? For those kind of things. But yeah, I will take the referral. I'm probably just gonna give them to Jimmy, right? If that makes sense. But go ahead, Fabricio.
In the same example, you just have similar example. Let's say I have a mindset coach who got a 2K program. He got a program that costs 2K, but he have to do all the effort and deliver the service. It's not a recorded program. Maybe I can tell him, hey, do a recording program or record this program in some kind of 8 steps and charge $500. So I go to another group and say, hey, I got an excellent course for 2K, but is willing to give it to you free. So I structured the deal correctly. In the same on the PSM, you have it for 6K. You give it to me for free to put it on some
I'll give it to you for free. I can, but I don't give it to you for free. We work out what would be a split that would make it a no-brainer for you or an amount. So I would ask, what do you plan to do with it? I want to bundle this in, right, with what I'm already doing. And how do you see that helping you? I think more people would buy it, right? Because it's a problem that we have. I help them get leads, but then they get piled up with leads and they don't know what to do with them. So if they can sell them more, they're going to be happier with my stuff and they're going to buy more stuff. Awesome. What are you selling your program for right now? $3,000. That's okay to me because I can bundle in PSM with $3,000, right? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Have you thought about just doing a course on your own and putting it in there? No, I don't want to do that. I've seen PSM. I want to use the templates and all that kind of stuff. Perfect. It seems like this might work out for me. What's an amount? What's a split? If we were to split this up, what's a deal that we can make that would just make absolutely fucking dreamy for you that you'd be so happy that you did it? And let them say for $3,000, I'm selling them for $3,000. I really don't want to pay more than $300, right? 10% to bundle this in. I think maybe I could actually get $3,500 for it now if I bundled it in. I'd be like, okay, as long as I don't have to push any buttons, right? I'm going to do the delivery on my side. Like I would give you a link and they just get it from my side. But if they have any questions on it, I don't provide any support. You do the support. I'm totally good with $300 per sale, right? And then they might say, I actually want somebody to answer questions for me. Now I can either say, no, that's not a good deal for me. Or I can say, oh, in that case, if you want some support, right, I'm gonna have to set up somebody to support it. What would make that awesome for you if you got the support along with it, right? And collaborate on the deal, right? Only time I'm going to really give it to them free is all I'm trying to do is get customers, right? And it's a valid strategy, right? If I'm just trying to get customers, let's say we couldn't work out a good deal, right? And I said, what do we come up with what are you really trying to do? I'm just trying to show them how to send out an email and get people to raise their hands. What if we did a PSM Lite? And I would just give you PSM Lite and you could sell it and keep 100% of the PSM Lite, right? And then I'll just give you a link. I usually don't say, give me the customer. I'll say, I'll give you a link where they can download everything. Like, that sounds good, right? Because then what am I going to do? They're going to buy it. And then as soon as they buy it, I'm going to upsell them to PSM. Does that make sense? So again, it's like whatever, we can just work out deals, right? That works for both people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, with your stuff looks like everything easy, but I cannot put it together. I'm sorry.
So I think the problem you have is you say, I got a mindset program, and that's too broad.
That's an example. Yes,
right.
that's an example.
But it's too broad. Do you see what I'm saying? That you're not solving anybody's present pains with mindset. What's a present pain for who is it a mindset program for? And what are some of the things that they've helped with? Let's say I work with a lot of salespeople. I work with a lot of, let's say I work with a lot of coaches, because we do a lot of coaches here. But what's a mindset issue that coaches have that you help them with all the time? They're pricing. They're always priced too low, right? So I help them charge what they're worth. Now we have something we can work with. Does that make sense? Because we're solving a specific problem. So now we got to go find somebody that has a group of people that are selling stuff too low, and they know they have the mindset problem, but they don't solve that because this becomes a solution for them. So let's say that we went to, I'm just making up bullshit. Let's say we went to ConvertKit, because we know that they have a lot of coaches and high ticket people on there. And we go to the ConvertKit guys. Hopefully we'd get an intro from somebody and say, do any of your coaches quit your program because they just don't have the money to pay for ConvertKit? And they may say yes, or they may say no. But if they say yes, you think it's because they don't charge enough sometimes? Yeah, I think, do you see what I'm saying? So we got to connect. We can't be so, that's a big thing. I'm not trying to beat up on you, Fabricio, but most things you bring are so broad and so general. That's why you're having a hard time putting the pieces together. Because we want to do it like a kid. Like when we were a kid, we we're really good at this. We're like, what does mom hate doing? What does mom hate doing? And she does it almost every day, and she hates doing. Mom hates folding laundry, right? Mom, if I folded laundry for you every day, would you pay me a bigger allowance? But if we just saw ourselves as a kid helper service, it's too broad. Does that make sense? So we want to get specific. I think most of the issues I see is like, you're just trying to figure it out in your head. Well, I'm trying to encourage you. And I know you get out there and do stuff, but you've got to get that out there and do it, right? Just like you went up to the VIP table, you can't figure out what the guys at the VIP table want before you start a conversation with them. They may all be gay. No, right? You don't know. They may all be married, right? They may be all like, you just don't know. They may be Amish on their night out, right? The Amish, you don't know. So you've got to talk to them, right? And so in here is not the place to figure this out, right? I'm just giving you principles that you can go use, right? Does that make sense? That every business pays somebody. If you're going to sell something, you've got to pay somebody for something, right? Does that make sense? If you're selling bicycles, you're buying those bicycles from a manufacturer somewhere. Does that make sense? So if your program is on how to help bicycle shops sell more bikes, you're going to go to the manufacturer and say, hey, if your people are better at selling bikes, do you think they would order more bikes from you? Yes. Then you're going to open a conversation. Does that make sense? It's like I was pointing out with Hornung's course. People just think, oh, it's just a media buying course, and you miss all the money, because it's not just a media buying course. It's a solution to 10,000 people's problems. You just have to slice it and dice it. Who, what, when, where, why, how. Does that make sense? Anybody have anything they want to add to that? Sometimes I don't always do the greatest job of it explaining. So I'm totally cool with that. Let's say you got a mindset coach and you said, oh, okay, great. Help me introduce people to you. Tell me about a person that you helped. Who were they? What business were they in? What specifically did you help them with? Oh, I help coaches who don't feel like one of the things, they don't feel like they're charging what they're worth, or they get, what do they call it? Imposter syndrome or whatever. Perfect. So based off of what I said, where's the first place you want to go? Anybody want to answer this? Where would the first place that you would want to go? Where's the first place that you want to try to figure out if anybody wanted to sell that program?
Their audience.
Their audience. Good. You got it. That's perfect. And guess what? If none of our customers want to purchase that, either the program's a problem, right? Or maybe they don't have anybody that they could sell it to, but you could figure, but you don't know until you get the data. Does that make sense?
Once you tested that it's working with his audience or her audience, then you have data to go and find someone else that has the same problem and say, hey, this has been proven to work. So how about you also take on it?
Yeah, or ideally you get that NEER, right? It would just introduce you to everybody, right? If you have a program on reputation management, right? Again, thinking too broad is the problem. Oh, I got a course on reputation management, but that's not the way. There's no car dealer out saying I got a problem with reputation management. They're like, I got a bad review and this damn thing keeps popping up on my Google listing and it's costing me deals. That's so I could sell those dealers onesie-twosies, but if I went to the National Automobile Dealers Association in the area and I said, hey, do any of your dealers ever get bad reviews and then they're up on their Google and it just destroys their sales? Oh my God, yes. Maybe I have something that can help them. Would you be open to discussing it? Yes, because they have a relationship with them, right? Where they're getting fees to be part of the association and stuff. And you could just put on a class and then sell them there. It's a different way you could do it, or have your partner put on a class. But then you can do the same thing with every chapter of NADA in the country if you wanted to, and just take that out and license it out. And then if you ever run out of that, then you could take it to plastic surgeons. You could take it to plastic surgeons, like there's another person we've done reputation management for, right? But if you only think of your tool and not the problem and job that you're doing, that's a big problem. You just think of their tool. I got reputation management, right? But they don't think about the job that it's doing and who they're doing it for, right? I sold somebody a Honda, right? One of the EVs, and the battery wouldn't charge. Now they pinned it on all the social media, and every time that somebody types in John Smith Honda in Russellville, like all I got is bad shit on my page. That's a real big problem for them, right? But they might even know what the term reputation fucking management is, right? Does that make sense?
Thank you, because you just gave me a very good idea. I know someone that he wanted me to work for him with his reputation management company. That's all he does. And he has a very good system. And I said, no, I'm not interested in working for you. I'm not hireable. But anyway, so I can go back to him and deal with him and bring in this type of people that have associations or whatever. You just explained it very well. Thank you for that.
You're welcome, dude. A bunch of hands up I'd been ignoring. Mike Stevens, Troy McDonald, Andrew Miner, my guy. I forgot Andrew Miner. That's just a travesty right there. Let's do more Q&A or brainstorming or whatever you guys want to talk about on this topic, since there's a special roundup for this topic. Anything?
So if we are trying to license GTalk Cash Machine, okay, let's not focus on the tool. Correct me wherever I'm wrong. The job that GTalk Cash Machine is doing, it's helping people convert their audience. Okay, it's helping people monetize their audience better. So what would be the NEER partnership that we can go for to license GTalk Cash Machine?
So I always like to sell away from what they're already doing, because typically what you find what's on their daily list or their weekly list, like folding laundry, is the shit they want to get rid of. So how are they selling it now? What is it they're selling? How are they selling it now? And I would sell away from the problems of that, right? If they're selling it by VSL, right? What happens when the VSL stops working? How do you roll out more angles, right? So it's not ever about the tool, it's about what they're already doing, right? Does that make sense? And what they want to escape from, right? It's like licensing itself, right? If I want to put on a class about licensing, I'm going to do, okay, big money from old courses, right? Especially for creators who want to create and don't want to sell stuff, right? Because the selling, I don't talk about licensing, right? I talk about, I know I've had people say, I'm a creator. I love creating stuff. I hate selling it. This is perfect for me, right? And again, the best stuff always comes from my market, right? So that's what I would like. What are they doing? How else are they selling it without the 2-page Google Doc? Are they doing 16 pages? Are they doing 16-page sales letters? Are they doing VSLs? Are they putting on $37 challenges? Which there's nothing wrong with those, but people, you doing how many licks does it take to get the center of a lollipop? Like how many 3-day challenges does it take before you get sick of doing them at any price, right? You do enough of them, and then people want to escape from that. Does that make sense? It's just
that was the angle for phoneless sales machine, right? That people wanted to escape from phone.
That's right.
But what I'm trying to understand is like what you're talking about, we can use that for one-on-one sales. Okay. That if somebody is selling through VSL, we can try to figure out if they actually hate that or not.
You might say, hey, do you have any lower ticket products that you'd love to sell, but you don't want to spend all day doing a sales page? It's great.
I was more focused on the NEER partnership. Okay. So that who is somebody who would have that audience where I can go and ask them, do your people complain about not converting their visitors, not converting their audience? Then I might have something that, can help them with. Is this something that you can talk about?
Funnels would be that somebody that has active campaign, the tools that they use could be NEER.
That's right. Yeah. What tools are they? Yeah. Payment processor, Kajabi, hey, if we can get them to sell more people, right? Mm-hmm. Then they're going to have more people, and they're going to pay us more, right? The more people you get in Kajabi or whatever CRM, the more you pay. Does that make sense? So that might be a natural. Hey, I've got this. People want to sell stuff all the time, right? But they think they need big videos, big webinars, right? If they have a $97 or $197 thing, we can knock it out with a 2-page GDoc, right? Do you think that might be useful for your people to put more? If they could sell it faster, would that help you retain your people, help them bump up the new levels, those kind of things, right?
Or somebody that teaches a course that teaches people how to sell their knowledge, that could also be something they could bundle into their own course.
Guess where else I've used 2-page GDocs, or maybe a little more? Selling real estate, selling land, selling I got this idea from, his name's going to go away from me. One of the best old time copywriters, Savinga, Bullets, Ben Savinga. He sold his house with a freaking Word doc, right? So there's all kinds, what you could sell. We've sold physical products with it, right? Hey, everybody thinks you need a web page and everything. If you do a special offer, and so all those kind of things, right? And so if they're selling physical products, who's their supplier, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's right. My thought process like Kajabi, ConvertKit, or I'm actually a friend with ConvertKit's founder. But this is probably a limiting belief. But I think they are way too big to show interest in a random offer. That's what I would say. That's probably my limiting belief.
Could be, but I don't have any data on that. I haven't reached out to them personally. I know somebody just worked a deal with one of the biggest payment processors and shopping carts. That went pretty good. I know somebody just did a deal with one of the biggest internet marketers there is. I'm not going to name names, right? They know marketing probably better than I do, but they don't have the time, energy, so all those kind of things. So the big thing is, like I was saying today, if I'm a tow truck driver and it's 101 degrees outside and there's a guy in a tux bent over his hood, right? I'm a douche. If I say, oh, he's probably wants to fix it himself, I'm a douche, right? What I need to do is I need to slow down, roll down the window and say, sure is hot out here. You need some help? You got this, right? If they have a pain point, if you find the pain point, I think, a big company has no pain points. They've got everything figured out. No, they fucking do not. They have way more painful problems than we do. They're what you don't know about that guy in the tuck's been over. He's a half hour late to his wedding, right? The daughter he's marrying is in the mob, right? So they're probably going to kill him because he's late for the wedding. They're probably going to wipe him out. I'm being funny just to make a point.
Got it.
Yeah, you never know what they're going through unless you ask.
Yeah. The bigger they are, the bigger problems they have. And the more
The bigger payroll they need to make.
That's right.
Can I throw one in on that?
Yeah, Andrew, do it.
I'm in a bad spot, so I'm off the camera just to preserve bandwidth. But a couple of years ago, I got a call from the senior VP of Gojo Purell. You guys familiar with that brand name?
Yeah.
Probably everyone's used Purell for hand sanitizer. This guy was sitting in his office in Cincinnati, and he Googled it, hand sanitizer. And he's, what the shit? Like, we're nowhere to be found. Like,
this happens at the good part. Andrew, you're breaking up, buddy.
Why is Pure sanitizer? He's like, why are we like? Can you hear me? How about
I
now?
can hear you now.
Okay. Anyway, the guy was like floored that the biggest company in the entire space that owns the category was nowhere to be found in Google. So of course they called us. This is when I was doing big enterprise SEO. And he was like, what do we have to do to fix it? And I was like, the other competitors are the CDC, whatever.gov, a bunch of other Healthline, big websites. I was like, it's probably going to cost you guys like
you're breaking
$1,000. And
Yeah.
serious. And they had to do it. Damn it. Anyway, huge problem for
Purell. You're back now. I think we got a little bit of a delay.
Okay.
We got most of it. That's awesome, dude. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Like these aren't big amorphous companies. They're all got people in them. And we get up in the morning, we put our pants on, right? We're like, damn, I'm too fat, or I don't got the six pack out. We're all the same. We go to work, we got the same problems. Just because we run a big company, we still have somebody's running a big company got way more problems, right? So I would just, it's safer to assume that they're more fucked up than the smaller guys.
I'm gonna give that a try and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, that's it. What else, guys? Adam, did you get anything out of this? Adam and I might work out a licensing deal together. He's got a family. He may be changing kids or something. Troy, I see your lips moving, but I don't hear you, buddy. Your mic might be shifted over. Mine does that every once in a while. Here's a cool thing. Go ahead, Troy.
No, it's Arvel. Can you hear me?
Oh, Arvel, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, I disappeared. I had a meeting, and I don't know if you touched on this. So the NEER, the relationship stuff, I've made a course on like making a book with AI, which is pretty basic. And my list, a few people signed up for it. And main things that I know a guy that publishes books locally here in Phoenix. I'm like, he's printing one of my books. So I have a meeting on tomorrow. What I wanted to get from you earlier was, and I think I might have missed it. Again, if I give it to him for free and I'm trying to just think how to strategically think through it, because it isn't my core business, but it's just something that I created. I'm just trying to think of, I think I might have missed it, but just, does he make the money? Do I make the money? Or I might have missed it earlier. Sorry.
Did you hear the build a deal part?
What would you want to do what kind of split would make sense?
What he wants to do with it. How hard is it going to be to get what you have, right? Is it something that you can go out and source easily or whatever? And then, I'm open. I want to make this absolutely fantastic for you. What would make this super sweet? Or however Arvo would say it, right? It's just a negotiation 101. You want them to say the number first and see what they say. So that would be what you do with it, right? Do you have any cogs in it? Is it going to cost you anything? Is there?
No. And right now I don't even have a price on it. Like I pay what you want, and I'm going to add more features. So should I have a retail price on it first and then say, because if I don't have a retail price on it, then
there is no rules. It's just two guys working out a deal, right? It's two guys working out. Now if he's a publisher, he's got a little experience, so he might say, hey, here's what we typically do. But I would just get them to say what's going to work for them first. And then if it's too low for you, then build the deal from there, right? Probably if you keep in the mindset, like you just go do this again and again, right? You might say, I want an exclusive, right? So that's going to be like, I just want you to sell it here. So let's say he comes in, well, I'm happy to give you like a typical royalty is 5%. So we'll give you 5%, right? Or whatever it is, or we try to match what Amazon does 30% at $9.99. So we're going to test the prices or whatever, right? You could say, I'm just, that works for me, right? As long as it's non-exclusive, right? Like for this other places, that's perfect. They may say, no, I want to make it exclusive. Then you got a place where you can build the deal, right? Because you're not going to be able to take it. So exclusive, but exclusive doesn't mean anywhere, but exclusive publisher, like what's important to you? So you're a AI publisher, right? Do you mind if I put it somewhere else not competing, right? So again, it's just working out the deal, if that makes sense, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. Troy, I think we got you now, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah. I got 2 of you now, but I think we're good.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me make sure.
You're okay. You're good. I can hear you. Oh, man, that was your audio right there, buddy. Sorry. Yeah. So we might need to have 2 of you. I'm okay with 2 of you.
You're getting feedback.
Yeah, you just turn one mic off and one on. That's cool.
Okay.
All right, we got you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm having to do it a ski-wampus way. I'm not at the computer. Yeah, I just had my hand up for the item that I got, or that really stood out to me, was the build a deal. I don't know. I guess I need to be looking at this one. The build a deal, because it really helps the mindset, because I think once you can get past the point of approaching somebody, then I think you can stop yourself from even do that approach, because you're like, wait, if we get to the deal part, I don't know where to go from there. And I just think it just makes it so much easier that it's extremely flexible. And so I really like that. Again, you said to pick one thing, so I made it one thing.
Awesome.
But then the other thing that I had a question on was, you said that you would provide those people who have the complete licensing kit book, your copy of what you're using, or some guidelines on what you put together. Is the Kindle edition gonna be good? Because that's $28 versus $300.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just look at when you get the Kindle edition. I think I got the real edition, but I think they say they may give you a website where you can go download it. It's probably what they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's fine as long as you got that. I'll send it, and you guys are welcome to use the video that I have going over it if you want, or you can record your own video if you want. But yeah, I'll give you the template that I'm using. But it does come from this book, so I just want to be, because I make my living off IP. I don't want to rip off anybody's IP.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just want to know if we send you the receipt or screenshots or whatever you want, video with me on the screen.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, just do it in the DMs in the group, and then I'll attach a agreement for you with the video and stuff.
Okay, thanks.
I'm going to call out some people I'm interested in how they took this, because I'm selfish like that. If you don't want to talk, just pretend like your audio, you don't hear me. Jordan, was this useful for you? Jordan Blackman, was this useful for you at all?
Hey, what's up, Travis?
Hey.
I've been in so many of these calls where like I had to go during this part, so it's just cool to be able to hang out. Yes, I learned a lot. So for me, I just watched this movie Arrival, where aliens come from outer space and they speak a totally different language, and the star has to like translate. And I felt a little bit like that, because it's so different from how I'm usually thinking about things, that just the really basic stuff was the most helpful for me, like renting intellectual property to sellers. That was like really helpful. The thing that I was going to ask about before that I was a little confused about was related to the NEER thing, because it sounded like the direction that the existing business relationship is flowing is important, but I was a little bit confused if it's which way.
Yeah. It's easier if, let's say I'm just making a bullshit. You do a lot of videos, right? And you say, oh, I'm really good at doing these software style videos. And you go to maybe a SaaS company, right? That depends a lot on affiliates. Let's say you go to Russell Brunson with ClickFunnels, right? And you go to Russell and you say, hey, you think if your affiliates could do better videos, that they might sell more ClickFunnels? Oh yeah. Does that make sense?
So that's the accounts payable where the ClickFunnels is paying the affiliate.
But they're also selling for Russell.
Well, exactly. That's why I'm a little confused about it.
But you want there to be like that you're solving a problem for their people, and it's economic. If he does this, he's not so much buying your program to promote the shit out of it and make a bunch of money there. His primary thing is to help them sell better. So he's selling more software.
Tunnels,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So that would be one thing. If you were going to, we're using the dog kennel thing, right? Let's say like you wanted to, like dogs and pets are really great on video. People like to love to see their dogs on video, right? So if you had a specific way to do video for dogs and you wanted to work with dog kennels, right, or dog groomers, you might find the Kennel Association of America or whatever, right, and say, hey, do your people complain that they have empty kennels, right? Yeah, they do. Hey, like do you think if I show them how to do short videos and put them up on YouTube and TikTok to get more people, that would be useful for them? Yes, I think it would help you sell more memberships. Or maybe they're the kennel manufacturers, right? Or whatever. I don't know what a kennel writes out checks for, right? Shampoo, dog, could be a dog food company. Hey, like I know it's like how much of your business comes from kennels, right? A good portion of 25%, right? Hey, so you see what I'm saying? Hey, if we helped your kennels fill up more, do you think you'd sell more dog food? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not really about the relationship that the money is going. It's more about, is there a benefit to the success of the list holder?
So you don't have to name them by name, but think of one of your customers that pays you money every month. Okay. So now if he came to you with a DM and said, hey, I know your videos are driving lots of traffic, right? I've got a guy who's really shit hot and converting him into sales just using a Google document. I think you should meet him. Are you just going to ignore his ass? Froze up again.
Did you lose me?
Yeah. Did you?
Okay, I heard you. Of course not. No.
Yeah. And that's the secret to it, right? Like from the payable side, right?
Ah, okay. I got you.
If you're a Lambo dealership and you're buying all your Lambos from Lamborghini, the manufacturer, right? And you want to do deals with Lamborghini dealerships, you can go to the manufacturer, right? If they're having a dip in sales or maybe they just want to like reach a new market, right? Or whatever. Say, hey, are you people trying to reach into the tech industry is super hot right now. They're buying Ferraris like crazy, right? Are they buying Lambos too? Right? Do you see what I'm saying? I've got like a video series that makes Lambo look really good, right? Do you think that'd be helpful for your people? It's a other way, but they've already got a relationship built, right? Because the dealers are buying the Lambos from them, right? But hey, we've got this connect, the guy that can help you sell more Lambo. It's not the same relationship, but it's still better than going in cold. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So in that example, you're looking for the introduction. You're not looking to license the video course to the dealer, so the main dealer or the main manufacturer.
You can, and then you can like if the Lambo dealers, or the Lambo manufacturers, like this would really help us. Why don't I do this? Why don't we put a training together because I'm watching how these guys are doing videos and they're posting them out on the social and they're terrible. They don't make Lambo. But I can show them a couple things, right? And it can be corporate training, right? And so how many Lambo dealers do you have? 500. Why don't we just do it? What would be make it an amazing deal for you if all your Lambo dealers could have this? If they had any questions, you could either provide that support or not provide that support. Does that make sense? So you could do the licensing program with them. Of course, you could get an introduction to them too. You can say, Jordan could do a class. Like, hey, I can put on a class for all your Lambo dealers. It's kind of like the reputation management class, like the girl just started doing for net. Hey, I'm going to put on a class and show them how to get rid of all those bad reviews. Of course, by the time she spends 2 hours on how to do it, they don't want to do it. They just hire her. Same thing with Jordan.
I worked on a thing with a friend who had a deal. Basically, Facebook had hired his agency to make videos about how to make apps monetize better. Because the better the apps monetize, the more they can spend on ads. So right. Facebook actually paid this agency to promote themselves. That's in that vein.
I would look for, can you do that with Apple? Can you do that? What other kind of app stores are there? What other those kind of things.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
The other thing,
you're thinking about it right, dude.
The other thing that I can think of what you were just talking about is that you don't even need to make the videos. You can sort of subcontract them to someone else to make them for you, and then just make them available to whoever needs them.
Yeah, that's always an option for sure. Sometimes we don't have what they need, but we say, oh, we can find somebody else. Hey, if I can find somebody else, then we just work a piece of that deal. Maybe they like, hey, big problem we have is our dealers, all of our Lambo dealers, like they complain that they get bad reviews because the maintenance is so expensive. How can we push that shit down? I don't really do that, but if I could bring somebody in that had something, that would you guys be open to that? And then you go to a reputation management person and say, hey, I've got the Lambo manufacturer with 500 dealerships it's looking for help with reputation management. Would you be open to discussing that? So you can work that deal out. So it's a matter of, again, a Ronin walks into a nightclub. There's a VIP table of guys. There's a girls over there, and you don't know what's going to happen until you start mixing it up. But
yep. Just one quick question. You mentioned some time ago, I think in another 2 or 3 previous calls, that you have something special coming up on probably next year or something. Can you give us a hint of this credit card thing that you were talking about? It's a credit card, I don't know, method that you were going to teach us.
I probably remember, but I can't think of it right now.
Okay. That's okay.
Arvo, did you have your hand up or just forget to put it down? I'm sorry, not Arvo. Marcel. I don't have my glasses on.
Yeah, one moment.
What you got?
Can you guys hear me clearly?
I can hear you good.
All right. So I have 2 questions. And the first one is, when do you determine when you want to build a product, put more resources into
We're figuring
structure?
that. I'm starting to think it's my connection. Can't be everybody else's connection. I'm having a hard time.
I can't hear it very good either.
Okay. How do you determine when to sell the product? Do you have a product already, Marcel?
Is that any better?
Yes, much better.
Okay. So I was curious, when do you determine when to build a product? Because a lot of times you can see the light and it makes sense, and you come up with something that you think might really work. But say that's not really something that the person you were talking to, that's not the direction that they're trying to go. And you find that out through asking questions, and they get their thing, but you might have discovered something that would be a really good test to run.
So I like to have demand first. And so I'll just use the magic of making up. I came to that a couple different ways. But what's relevant here is I know I didn't want to sell that onesie-twosie. I wanted basically to go out and rent my funnel. So I need to have people that already had lists and all those kind of things. So I did exactly what I was telling you here. I reach out to them, right? And at the time, most relationship advice was how to get laid more for guys, right? And how to have a better relationship for women, better marriage, those kind of things, right? Or a save your marriage kind of thing. But in 2007, iPhone came out and Skype was out. So it changed the relationship space for a long time. But so I thought that it would probably be well received, right? Because I'd already figured out, because I had a list of people, because I was selling in online dating, that a lot of people kept reaching out and saying, hey, I'm an LDR, I'm an LDR, I'm an LDR, I'm an LDR, right? Hey, we just broke up. I don't want to go back into the dating market and stuff. So I got that. So I was pretty sure I could sell stuff to my list, but I wanted to verify it with other people's that had audiences. So I reached out to people that already had, who were selling courses and relationship advice, just with the spin outreach I was telling you about. I said, hey, Are any of your people in LERs? Oh my gosh, yes. Do they ever send you long ass emails? And they're like, people in relationships are notorious when they like to send you they ever send you long ass emails about breakups? Yes. Are you offering you anything to help there? No. I have something that might help. Would you like to discuss it? Yes. And so it didn't take me very many of those people with big lists to say, you know what, I should probably develop this idea I have more. Does that make sense? So I want to look for demand first, because what I don't want to do, what hasn't worked for me, is for me to go in a corner of mental masturbation and say, and not being involved in the marketplace, right? And try to make up something that I think is going to work, right? And the way I think of a marketplace is kind of like I think he just dropped off.
I'm following.
Oh, there it is. Okay. When I say in the marketplace, I mean in the marketplace, right? So if I want to sell more vegetables, right, and I don't know what to sell, I'm going to go sit in the farmer's market, and I'm going to watch the traffic flow, and I'm going to listen to the conversations, right? I'm going to listen when a woman walks up and to the tomato stand and she says, hey, are these organic tomatoes? And he says, no. And she says, oh, where is there anybody that sells organic tomatoes there? And they're like, no. And if I hear that 5 or 10 times, I'm going to get a clue that maybe organic tomatoes is something that I could bring to that market. Does that make sense? What I don't want to do is sit in the corner. I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm just being like dramatic to make a point. But what I don't want to do is sit in a corner and say, what kind of vegetables do I like? I like okra. That may or may not sell well in the marketplace, right? So a big part of this is just getting out of our head and let the market tell us what's going to work. So using that spin outreach to people that have near relationships or will be your customers. If they're saying, yeah, I would like to sell a product like that. Yeah, I would be happy with a deal if I got 50-50. Then I've got an idea that a product will do well before I either produce it. I don't have to create it. I just got to go out and find it. Right now, I created mine. But if there's a product already out there, then I can go produce it and bring it to the market. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. That really clarified. I had a light bulb go off. I had one more question, and the second question was,
you're good, dude.
I have a million ideas that will pop up for almost everybody I talk to. And it's really awesome. And,
you're not alone there.
Yeah, that's my thing. But something I've had to learn to stop doing is explaining too much of the back end. But that's where a lot of the meat and potatoes is. That's where it gets cool. What are your thoughts on that? When do you begin to open up other potential opportunities and doors that might lead to a next step or a different dot connecting for whatever supplier or distributor that you do business with?
Yeah. So part of the reason we call a Beamer back-end agency, or the reason I started everybody on what we're doing, campaign sales savers and these kinds of things, it's easier to go to somebody and sell their own product. So that's where you get the relationship open. So if I go to you, Marcel, and you say, I got a $2,000 program and I've got a $10,000 program. I've sold 1,000 people on my $2,000 program, but only 20 people on my $10,000 program. Like I said, oh, that makes sense. How are you selling it now? We only sell it when we do live events. I see that's probably worked out great. How do you sell it when you don't do a live event? That's the problem, right? If you were to do it yourself, how would you do it? I guess we'd put on a webinar and get a sales team and all that. That sounds like a good plan. Why don't you do that? I don't want to manage a sales team. Okay. So you don't want to manage a sales team and you don't want to do the webinars and everything, right? I got an idea. What if I hired the whole sales team and just handled all that for you? And all you had to do is service your client, your $10,000 clients, right? And we would do the selling for you. We'd start with a test on your past customers first. You said you had 1,000 past customers, right? So I'd run a test to that first and see if that works, right? Does that make sense? So I would start, that would be what I call the first date.
Yes, it makes sense. But if I think what I'm more so curious about is once you start your process, and you don't want to confuse anybody from throwing additional.
Where am I confusing?
I
Let's
guess.
start here. There's a 30 things we could do, Marcel, in a marriage. Let's just start with this test. What I'm going to do is send 3 to 5 emails to your list, and they're going to respond back, and then we're going to close them either with our virtual tapper or just by email, right? If that goes well, then we'll figure out the next thing, right? Does that make sense? So this gives us a time for us to both to test each other out, right? Do I like the cut of their jib, right? A lot of times with one email, you'll know if it's going to work or not, right? If the email comes back, oh, you shyster, where's my refund? It ain't going to work. Right? And it's good that we didn't map out this whole marriage, right? So again, I'm just letting data and not our head, not how we think it's going to go in our head. I'm letting data tell me the next move to make, right? If we do really well, right? Usually so say we send 3 emails and we're at like 60,000 in sales, right? So then I can say, hey, this test seems to be going pretty good. Would you like us to keep sending emails? Right? Yes, they're usually going to get yes. So awesome. We're going to keep sending emails, right? And then we're going to explore other places, right, where we can plug our IP into their flow, right? So I can say, oh, okay. So like how many $2,000 front end customers are you selling every month? We're selling 15, right? What happens after they go through the course, right? They're on an autoresponder list, but it's only for 7 days, right? Or however long they're in the course. And what happens after they're not in the course? Nothing. Well, why don't we take these emails at work? Let's go ahead and plug that into your autoresponder. So after they're finished with the course, they're going to get those automatically. Then I'll have my people sell them for you into your $10,000 program. So that would be like maybe date number 2, right? Does that make sense? So what I want to do is get more in their flow, right? Then it could be, hey, I noticed that all of your email customers, you also have a Facebook group full of customers, right? We're not making any offers over there. What if we made some offers over there? Does that make sense? And then we just keep going. Hey, I noticed you got snail mails for all these people coming in. I'm not saying you have to do that, right? But what if I paid for all the postage and everything, right? So I just keep taking that same offer and rolling it out. And pretty soon I'm going to get done with their stuff. And then I can look for partners, right? I can look for who else could I sell that? Who could I license this? Could I do a promo with somebody else, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, everything just clicked for me. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Yeah. What you'll typically find, I always say, I call this the third date phenomenon. It doesn't always mean it's the actual third date, right? But after you make some money on the first date, the whole relationship changes. They're like, oh, what else can we do? And you almost have to hold them back, right? And we want to go for the easiest money makers first, which is going to be getting in their flow, right? How many new Facebook group members are you getting? Let's put that in their flow. Let's put this, right? So we got these T1s or the hand raisers we can put in their flow, right? And so we're just, now that we've got the T3 that's working, we got the IP that's we're renting them, we just want to get it in more and more flow, right? If we run out of their flow, then we can say, hey, this would be perfect, right? Like we're selling this to all your schools, Onesie-Twosie, right? Don't you buy uniforms? Yeah, we buy uniforms. What if I could get the uniform guy to send us a bunch of business? That would be cool, right? So then I can go to the uniform guy. Does that make sense? Or I can I've bundled in my products to a lot of the people that I work with, right? They're like, I don't start out, I'm not saying you can't start out there, right? But as soon as you sell some of their stuff, hey, what if we did a bonus where I put big ticket email mojo in there, right? Because you're showing people how to get leads on their email list, right? But we're not really talking about how to convert them. Oh, that would be amazing. And then I get all their customers, right? And we could work out deals there, right? If I'm getting if I'm getting so now I've got a NEER relationship with them. If I'm getting 30 to 50% of the deal and I put in big ticket email mojo and it helps it sell better, I don't need to get more from it. Does that make sense? So now I'm working out like other deals, right? So I got Jason Hornung's AOA package. So if they're not showing people how to drive traffic, now I could offer that as an upsell, right? Does that make sense? So I just started out on that first date. Then you get to that third date where they're pretty much like, hey, whatever you want to do is fine. Literally, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That works so much better than throwing a frag grenade. Just
that actually will. That's why I call it the deal blows up, and I don't mean to blow up. It gets bigger, and then they start dragging their feet. So our job is always to poke a hole in the balloon and say, we're just going to run a test. Three emails, 5 emails through this, or if you're doing Sales Saver, let's just download 100 of your past webinar attendees who didn't buy, and let's start there. Or, hey, if we're doing a licensing program, let's start with your list first. Because what we found is most of our licensing, we can do lots of licensing deals just from our list. I'll put it out there and I'll make the pitch and we'll see if we can do any licensing just from your list. So the big thing I'm always trying to get across is we want to start on the 99-yard line. And we just want to run that last yard. So there you go. Andrew,
Wow.
Go ahead, Marcel. Was that good?
Yes, that was perfect. Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome, dude. Andrew, did you have something?
Yes, I do. Yeah, quick question. Hopefully you guys can hear me better now. What I'm trying to do is maybe crowdsource some ideas here. So I have a partner that has a math training program. It's primarily for like grade school kids, but it goes all the way up to even college age. And it's literally the best program on the planet. It was built by all these mathematicians. Yeah. And over many years, it's this AI program that like you just plug in and a kid that's in like 2nd grade by 4th grade can pass the BC calculus exam, which means that is like mathematician level. That's like going on to grad school level of calculus by like 4th or 5th grade. It's phenomenal. So all that being said, I'm trying to figure out what our NEER like relationships would be, because it's a kind of a unique deal where it's mainly for kids that show aptitude in math and are bored with their school curriculum, or maybe they just don't have the resources to progress the way they want to. And these are homeschoolers, but they're also traditional schoolers. So it's a unique group of people. But for me, I'm thinking, who could our NEER relationships be? Maybe that's language training programs or like homeschooling, like big newsletter networks. But I keep getting stumped here. And this might be me trying to pound a square peg in a round hole, or vice versa.
The first place I would go, Andrew, is how many people have they sold? How many parents have they sold this to already?
Almost 1,000. And by the way, it's still basically in beta. It hasn't we really haven't publicly launched it yet.
Yeah.
And just
guess what?
We have a great track record.
I would start with the parents that have already purchased it. Right? They're not just parents. They're maybe a homeschooling association, maybe they are the president of the Board of Education, government style. Maybe you can get a government kind of deal on that, local, state, those kind of things.
For sure. Yeah.
So again, this is where I may just not be smart enough, but for me to go in a corner and try to figure it out usually doesn't yield the same results as me getting in the marketplace and stirring shit up. Hey, like we want to take this program, do it on a mission. We believe it's so important. Education, math, like we're falling behind. We want to get this out there. Do you run a company that would want to offer this to your kids, or do you know somebody?
There you go.
And so you'd be surprised at all of the stuff that you'll turn up that like I wouldn't have probably thought of in a million years, right?
Yeah.
Because
I'm in the same boat. I'm like, I'm thinking I'm not smart enough to figure this out. How do I crowdsource this?
Yeah, I would just crowdsource it with the people who already purchased it, right? And I would say, I don't want to give a number here, but so many times it works out phenomenally well. Right? It doesn't mean you're going to get 50 gazillion responses, but if you got 3 and one of them, like, oh my God, this is a game changer. Does that make sense? And that's what we need to be going for. 2, what else do they have in common? People, what else does a mom or dad have in common that would purchase this type of program? What else are they purchasing? So you can say, what else are you purchasing to give your kid a head start? Maybe you find like a big majority of them they're giving them martial arts training, right? So now right? So you've got these other crosses that you can do, right? Partnerships, right? But you can go to like karate, the Karate Association, and do, again, this is like a nightclub. So over here, you've got a Karate Association. They would love to put more kids in their members classes, right? And over here, you've got a brand new math education startup, right? What if you put those people together, right? Those kind of things, right? Because you've already got, if you went to any, hey, I represent this amazing course that helps kids in math. We've got 1,000 customers, right? We've noticed with some informal polling that most of them are looking for martial arts classes, right? Wondering if you'd be open to discussing it, right? You're going to get lots of people to do that, right? But you might find there's some governments full of red tape and all that kind of, but there's probably a homeschooling magazine. Look who's advertising in the homeschooling magazine, right? That would be a bunch of NEER relationships there, right? So again, this is why I like to go in the marketplace. And I'm not saying for you not to post and ask, because there could be somebody in our group like, oh yeah, I've been in homeschooling for years and here's you need the content. So I'm not saying that's not the case, but if you get in the marketplace of where the people are at, the things that they're reading, the places that like, is there homeschooling conventions, right? Those kind of things, and see who's purchasing booth space, right?
Yep.
Could be financial planners, right? Hey, if these people are buying these high-end math things, right? Let me connect them up, right? A lot of times, like it's going to make me sound smarter than I am, but I was helping when I was selling POS systems, I was helping a brand new startup. They had a restaurant concept. Probably doesn't matter what the name of it was, but it was San Francisco bread company right here in Little Rock, right? They eventually folded, but they were trying to sell franchises, right? And they were just at a loss. Like they were purchasing leads, and they were like, it was just, they were striking out. I'm like, why did you start up a restaurant? Because they're hotel owners. They were hotel owners, right? And they're like, oh, it's interesting you asked that. We're independent hotel owners, and the hotel industry just isn't what it used to be. And she's all, matter of fact, did you know that, I can't remember, that 60% of all independent hotels are owned by Indian people, like from India, right? We all own like Subways and we all own hotels, and we notice a lot of people are getting Subway franchises, right? Because the hotel business isn't doing well, right? So I'm like, and I didn't have to put the rest together. They got it. They're like, holy crap, that's it. Within 5 years, they had 12 franchises opened up, right? Which was a lot. They just where did they go? Hotel owners, Indian, and it was a perfect match because they're Indian. They had the same problems. Hey, our hotel isn't doing as great anymore. We need to diversify our income. So we opened up San Francisco Bread Company, which is a sandwich place, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So a lot of times
smart.
There are common things that I'm just not smart enough to go in the corner and figure it out, right? That's a big thing. But yeah, start with who they're already like, what software is this math company using? What are they purchasing? All those kind of things. And then I would just start with their existing customers. And it's great, it's kids, because you can talk about the mission, right? Right now, we're talking about the spin outreach, right? But that can go well for broadcast. Hey, we're falling behind in math. We're falling behind in this. And you might find certain characteristics and commonalities. They make certain nationalities, other things that they're buying a lot, right? This wasn't my example, but somebody was, I think it was a Jay Abraham or somebody saying, craziest partnership for financial planners is eye surgeons. Like, what? Yeah, because like older people get the cataract surgery, right? But they're older, they got money, like all those kind of things. So they would do partnerships between the cataract doctors and financial planners, right? So all those kind of weird little things like that.
Wow. Yeah, would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome, dude.
Hey, Andrew. I was gonna say something to Andrew.
Go ahead, dude. He's still here.
Yeah, Andrew, I know something about school software because I used to work for that company. So they produce specific software for schools. So that would be another venue that you can approach. And if this program is really good and it can be adapted to Australia, I would be willing to give you a hand on that because I know
another good idea. Yeah.
I know the owner was the owner of the company that I worked for 18 years or so. So he might be interested in this deal to promote it to 500 schools in Australia here.
Yeah, would love to.
Yeah.
And it's the company, the software is actually incubated in a pretty major school district here in Southern California. So it actually was sprouted up out of the school district, and then that whole school district implemented their math training for the whole district, and all these kids are like rocket scientists now. It's wild. And that we had the same idea. Yeah, it's wild. And we're like WASC certified. So all the like West Coast schools like Stanford and Caltech and Berkeley, they're all WASC accredited, and we're also WASC accredited. So we've got like all the credentials are there, and all the people that are behind this are like really smart people. And it's just a matter of, like the need has to be there, and there has to be like, they can't see it as competition for the school, but an additive thing where it's just going to be a net benefit for the kids. So I'm open to
schools might be a good avenue also. Private schools, they're more incentivized to have kids with better grades because that's the way they can get more people to bring their kids. Yeah.
I find out what books or what other non-competing courses, because you could say, hey, let's give you a bonus bundle in your book, in your Kindle book or your workbook, where we'll give them a free trial. Like usually our free trials are 2 weeks, but we'll give you 2 months free trial, just special for your people, right? And so you get bundled in those books, or if it's Kindle, like they can update the book, right? The bonus chapter kind of idea, or that helps them sell more stuff. Hey, get the book and get 2 free months and this blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So you can.
That just brought up another idea. I'm actually going to see Dr. Sears pretty soon for my kids. Dr. Sears is like the big time pediatrician. He wrote all these books about like baby sense, and his children are now, they've taken over his practice, but they're all famous. They're all on like Dr. Phil. They all have their own podcasts and TV shows. I'm just going to see if they want to do the same thing. We'll plug in a bonus for their audience.
An announced bonus.
Dude.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm saying not that I love brainstorming, but we're using our heads. But you just the idea of the pediatrician, like how many pediatricians' offices are there, right? Why not put out flyers or like real fancy gift cards, get 2 months? Yeah, you can probably find out some of 80-20, right? But hey, in these areas where the average income is over this, right? Hey, we would like to leave gift certificates for all of your patients, right? To get 2 free months or like free math training or whatever it is, right? So anything to do with the kids.
Andrew, here's another one off the cuff. Approach a psychologist associations or some psychologist clinics, because they will know whose kids are having problems with maths, because they will be into cases where they go, kids, I'm left out or I'm bullied because I'm really terrible with maths, and they will know who they are. So that's another one.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, thanks. Cool. Yeah, appreciate all the ideas, guys. It's definitely opened up some channels here.
Awesome. Guys, I smell dinner cooking. You're not going to keep me much longer here, but thank you guys for hanging out with me so damn long.
Thank you.
Do some stuff with this, right? Get out there, get some deals going, post in the group. It inspires everybody, right? I'm best when your butt's already on the bike, then I can guide you, right? But so do that. We're going to be doing lots of licensing deals and such. I'm going to be I'm waiting to see the cream that rises to the top, because I'm looking for some licensing agents too, not only for my stuff, but other deals we're working. So that's something I'm doing. But thanks for hanging out with me. I'm going to go see what's for sale. Catch you later.
Thanks, Travis.
Thanks.